right, the time is 6:01. Let's bring the Select Board meeting of Monday, September 23rd, 2024 to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fiddler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to open the Select Board meeting for Monday, September 23rd, 2024.
Excellent. I'd like to remind everyone this meeting is being recorded by MCM, and please ask you to join me with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening, and I would like to announce that we have an executive session this evening, and I'm going to get started right away with this. And the board moves to go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, to wit, police chief, to return to public session following the conclusion of the executive session. Okay. The board moves to do that, and I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fiddler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to go into executive session, to return to public session at the conclusion of the executive session.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we are coming out of executive session and returning to public session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fiddler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to return to public session.
Excellent. This evening, I will defer our chair comments, my chair comments, to the next time. And our town administrator has agreed to put his report at the end of our meeting this evening, so we can get this underway. The public comments this evening, as many of you are aware, we have two folks that have signed up for public comment, but they are Jim Bannon. He's already on our appointments schedule. Unfortunately, it was for 6:35, and it's now 7:50, so I really apologize, but it couldn't be avoided. And we also have Bob Shaughnessy, our chair of our Board of Public Works. So both of those folks are already on our agenda, so sign up for public comment. If you could hand that over to Jenna so she has that for the record. And I'd like to welcome Jim Banda to the podium, or take a seat, and thank you for coming this evening. I do, as I said, apologize for taking so long. So this is to be an ex officio member of our steering committee for our new permit.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
voting member. He's a voting member.
A voting member, yes, I'm sorry, for the search committee for our new fire chief. So today we have just a second. It's a citizen at large, and this is an interview. And I appreciate you sending us a letter, and I'm going to read the letter into the record. And then you've also sent us your resume. But just so people know what you're all about, I'm going to just share this. So please accept this letter as my request to be considered as a member of the Fire Chief Screening Committee. I have been a practicing attorney for over 23 years in a limited practice of residential and commercial construction, all of which require a valid construction supervisor's license and full knowledge of the NFPA fire code. My unrestricted license is valid through July 2025. With this noted, I have had the opportunity to interact with many municipal fire chiefs, deputy fire chiefs, and fire prevention officers. Sadly, I had the necessity to work with the state fire marshals on a tragic fatal fire in Abington. I was the building inspector in Abington at the time of this incident. Jointly, the fire, building, state fire marshal officials, and coroner's office worked smoothly together to conclude this incident. I was asked by Chief John Nuttall of Abington to join him in the selection process to choose Abington's new fire prevention officer. Tough questions were asked and honest answers were given. Chief Nuttall and I were the only interviewers. Abington, as well as Marshfield, are fortunate to have interactive departments with excellent department heads and dedicated staff members. I would like to present a candidate to the select board that fits our needs, both now and in the future. I believe I can help with this. So would you like to share, because that's exactly what,
The letter pretty much summarized.
yeah, okay,
I've been around a long time. I've been in construction since late 70s.
okay,
It goes hand in hand, whether it's commercial or whether it's residential, with the fire department.
okay.
Back in the 70s, it really wasn't too much, but now it has become an integral part of construction.
Exactly.
And working with a fire chief who is dedicated and really wants to do their job is what it's all about.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, other than what was noted in the letter that I just wrote? Anything else you'd like to add?
I've lived here for 11 years. My wife has been, she's been a resident of Marshfield for over 30 years.
Okay,
So I love it down here.
okay.
Yeah.
Business, family, it's, I appreciate you putting yourself out there because it's a big deal.
I'm having a hard time here.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll speak
I
up.
don't know if it's on.
IT, can you, okay.
Is it? Okay.
Maybe I'll just add this closer to me. Let's see, is that any better?
It's much better.
Okay, all righty. So why do you want to serve on the screening committee?
I think my experience from the 70s, dealing with fire departments, dealing with many chiefs. When I lived in Wilmington, I was on a first-name basis with the chiefs, and it was, sometimes I would get a phone call at 3:30 in the morning asking, can I help out with something? Those are dedicated chiefs. You know, I've had chiefs in different towns that I've worked at who couldn't tell you who they were or where their office was.
Okay.
You just couldn't approach them. But I think what I know on the legal side and what I know on the construction side, I think I can help.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. What is something specific about this town that you love?
I live on Ocean Street, 11-4 Ocean Street. I get up in the morning, sunrise, it's an absolutely stunning view. And there's no infighting in this town. I've been working in some towns that select boards cannot get together with Board of Appeals, Planning Board. I was on a planning board in the town of Wilmington, 13 years. We all got along. Nobody was suing anybody. Nobody was bad-mouthing anybody. The town is smooth. That's
Okay.
what I've got to say.
Okay, I appreciate that, and we all aspire to that. What do you consider to be your greatest strength?
After dealing with a lot of fire departments over the years, you kind of get a sixth sense of what that person is made of. And when I was building down in Wellesley and Weston, a lot of hands-on people. Somerville, you never saw the fire chief. And I can understand with the NFPA, that's the fire code, and I understand how that works. I understand how the building code works, so I can see what they're up against. But the fire chief that's it, he's the chief. He's the administrative officer of the fire department. He's the person that steers it, or she would be the person that steers the fire department. It's not hands-on firefighting. That would be very, very rare It's making the administration of the fire department so others who are qualified can go in and take care of a fire situation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Sure, yes, thank you. Based on your experience, what important qualities stood out to you in the various chiefs you interacted with, and what qualities would you look for in a fire chief for the town of Marshfield?
Someone who is seasoned, to use the word, someone who's come up through the ranks. They know what direction they're going in. They know what direction they have to go in. The incident that I mentioned in the letter, everybody knew what direction we were supposed to go in. And it didn't matter whether you were the building inspector or whether you were the fire chief. Everybody meshed and took care of that situation. It was a tough thing. A lot of us had our eyes opened as to some different regulations, as to who's got jurisdiction. But it's a flowing jurisdiction. It's not just, I'm going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. That whole situation flowed.
Thank you.
Eric?
Just want to say thank you for putting yourself forward, everybody, and doing this. I wish you well on this, and hopefully we'll come up with somebody that will serve the fire department as well as the town well in this position for years to come.
It is. It's going to be, we need somebody who's going to be here for a while. I've had instances with different towns that the rollover rate for fire chiefs is stunning. You know, it's, you honestly, you can't get anything done with the town. You know, if we have somebody that can come in and is going to commit to us, you know, it doesn't matter whether they're old or whether they're young. It's the job that they should be doing.
Sure, it's, I mean, as you bring that up in regards to, there are other towns with turnover rates in the fire chief position.
I've seen them a year.
Is it, I know every case is going to be different, but I guess as you bring that up, is it a town issue? Is it a fire chief issue? Do you know,
It's a fire chief.
couldn't do the job, or what do we?
No, they were coming up on retirement.
Okay.
You know.
All right, so that's the turnover. It's not so much there was anything going on.
No, it's not, no. They would have been long gone if they couldn't have got along with the police department, the board of selectmen, select person.
Right,
I'm sorry.
that's all right.
They would have been out the door.
All right, so what you're saying is that turnover isn't anything negative on any town, or it's just that they
No.
come in, they do their time, they retire, and then they're out.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes, like I said before, you wouldn't even know who the chief was because the deputy chief was running operations.
See who applies and who you guys come up with, I guess. Thank you.
I'm having a
Thank you.
hard time hearing you because this is roaring over here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I apologize about that.
Well, are you all set, Eric?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'd like to again applaud you for putting yourself out there, and you are the only person in the town that has offered as a volunteer and to come in and be on this board. So I appreciate it, and this board and the town appreciates it. So I'm going to jump ahead, if that's all right with everybody. We're going to go to action item number 2, and I'm going to make a motion while you sit there. The board moves to appoint Jim Banda to the citizen-at-large position on the Fire Chief Screening Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to appoint Jim Banda to the screening committee.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much. And our town administrator will be in touch with you as we get
Yes.
ourselves organized. So,
Thank you.
thank you, appreciate it. So we also have an appointment tonight for 6:45. Michael, we're going to move ahead with that?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
So we're just going to try to catch up a little bit, but hello, come on up. Happy you're here, I appreciate the time.
May I approach and give you some literature?
You certainly can.
And
And
Jim,
everybody's going to
Sean is
introduce
here,
themselves.
and Ryan,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
Sean.
So while you're doing that, I'm just going to, for the record, so we have the Board of Public Works Chair, Bob Shaughnessy, and DPW Superintendent Sean Patterson here for a general update, and quarterly meetings are proposed. And
Ken Ryan.
Ken Ryan, hi,
Hello.
nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, Ken is a great addition. He's been at the
Yes,
at
I
the DPW
just
for a
hadn't
while. We
actually-
work great together on a number of issues, so.
Yes, thank you. So the floor is yours.
All right, the reason why we're here, I'm Bob Shaughnessy, I'm the Chair of the Board of Public Works. Sean Patterson, Superintendent, and Ken Ryan is one of our star engineers. The few engineers that we do have, we don't have a lot of engineers. Michael Moresco asked us to be here. He sent an email on August 13th, in which he had a number of updates that he would like to go through. And what we provided is, we provided a written update on each of the items. And so we wanted to do that first, and then what we would like to do is have a discussion on some additional issues that we'd like to move forward, that we would like the Board of Selectmen to participate in, which affects the infrastructure of this town. So, having go through this, I would like to go through and, the first update, I'll read the list of items for the record. You wanted an update on the Bullnose Project Phase 1, the indirect policy change, the reserve fund for enterprise accounts, street acceptance policy, update of Plymouth Avenue Pump Station, the sewer plant and sewer extension, and Dyke Road gate repairs. That's the update. And what I'm here is Ken is going to give you an update on the update of the Bullnose project, the Plymouth Avenue Pump Station, and Sean is going to give you an update on the road acceptance, and then I'm going to talk about the indirect policy change and the reserve fund enterprise accounts. So the first item is the update on the Bullnose Project Phase 1. I'm going to turn that over to Ken.
Yeah, so we started this project last spring, late in the spring. We started with a bunch of utility work that we had to do, drainage structures, there was a water line that we had to move. We stopped the project for the summer, so we've been in summer hiatus, we're getting all ready to start going again. So this fall, we'll see a lot more improvements out there because we're gonna do a lot of the pavement. There'll be a lot of traffic interruptions during that part, but it'll start to really take shape. And the goal is to get that done by the end of the year. You know, weather dependent, we'll see what happens.
Okay? Any
So-
questions on that item as we go?
Yeah, so you, so this Bullnose project, the final design has all been completed, obviously, at this
Yes.
point, and you've decided what you're going to work on in the middle? Okay. And there was, as you here, you have a new 200-foot section of ductile iron water main was installed, and the drainage updates.
Yes.
Were those part of the original phase?
Yes and no. The original phase, the water main was actually our project, the town's.
Okay.
We hired a contractor to do the drainage, but the water main was actually in the way to put the upgraded drainage in, so we had to do some prep work there.
Okay. All right, good enough. So, do you want Ken to keep, it's your, do
Okay, so that's the update. I mean,
you guys have any questions or comments on that?
In regards, what is the, I mean, trying to get understand what the Bullnose project is, can you explain what that is?
Bullnose is the southern portion of the Esplanade. We went through probably 5 or 6 different design elements. We worked with the community down there. One of the components was to put a roundabout, and the public and the Grant Rock Association didn't want the roundabout. They wanted the Bullnose, so we moved ahead with the Bullnose. And we got funding for a portion of the whole Esplanade we have a full plan, but we're moving ahead for the critical piece, which is the southern piece. Back in 2004, since I've been on the board since 2002, but 2004, we did the island as you come in. When I first came in, it was a big yellow, big white spot in the middle of the Brant Rock, and that was Brant Rock Esplanade. And we said, well, let's try to make it a village and make it a little more greener. And that's how it first came out, but we only did the first part. We never did the final part all the way down the end. So this is really to control the traffic component that comes out of Island Street and Ocean Street, so people aren't confused. It's confusing enough down there sometimes, especially in the middle of the summer. But this is really to fix that. The other aspect, the next phase moving forward, would be where the island is now as you enter and try to get some of the traffic. We have redesigned a little bit, which requires funding. And we look at that as the next phase down there. The more we make these neighborhoods into villages, people can walk, and it becomes pedestrian safety, that kind of stuff. It makes a nicer town. So that's where we are on that. It's one piece of a multifaceted project.
So they were originally proposed, it was originally, in my recollection, it was proposed as one big project, and then
Yes.
it was decided for several reasons, logistics and et cetera, infrastructure, to phase it out. So there was, based on my recollection, 3 phases. We're in phase 1, and then you'll be working towards phase 2 and then phase 3.
Right.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct.
That's correct. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
So the next item is the indirect policy change. The indirect policy was established when Rocco Longo was here. I was on the board. We worked with the town administrator. The chair of the select board, who was it?
Steve Ross.
Steve Robbins, myself, and we worked up a matrix of the indirect policy of how to deal with it. And we still need to do work, and what we're proposing is that we do a kickoff meeting with, like we had before, the chair of the Board of Public Works and the Board of Select persons, the DPW superintendent, town treasurer, town administrator, the DPW business manager. We should basically set up a meeting to strategize and enhance the policies moving forward. Things are changing all the time. We need to get a good indirect policy that we at the Board of Public Works, you as the overseer of all the budgets, agree to. No, it's a cooperative effort. We're one town, enterprise funds, just like the tax base. It's all the same people pay for it. It's just good financial accounting principles, public funding accounting principles that we need to follow. And we're looking for cooperation with the Board of Selectmen to move forward with a better understanding. There has been a big rub on this item. Certain people on my board would, not want to do that. I look at it as a very cooperative type of thing, because the same people that pay the ratepayers pay the taxes, and we're on the same page. It's just that governmental fund accounting, and I got my master's in public administration, so I understand governmental fund accounting needs to follow, and we'll go from there. And Michael Resco has been working with us. We have a very good cooperative effort to move forward with it. I think that it's probably 6-7 years since we've really focused on it, and we really wanted to do it when Steve Robbins and myself and Tom Reynolds and Rocco set it up, was that it should be reviewed on an annual basis, because things change all the time. Personnel has changed. People's views change. So it's dynamic. It's the people's money, and we need to be responsible for it. So that's what we're proposing. We're proposing that we do a subcommittee, work something out amongst the group, and bring it back to both boards. And that way, And we should do that on an annual basis, so that it doesn't matter who's chair of what board it is, at least everyone's on the same page. That's,
Okay, so.
that's where we are on that.
Yeah, so I'd like to I want to just put this out there, because our indirect policy is, I mean, how many pages long is it? It's a very,
Robust.
I'm going to be polite about it. It's a very robust, and the interpretation of it and getting to a percentage is really, I think, where we're headed. I think that's probably a good, but in light of what you've proposed, I think that this is the perfect opportunity for us to get everybody at the table and get through at least a working committee on how best to approach this, so.
Right, we don't need to have name calling or anything about this.
No.
It has been in the past.
No.
Originally, when we established it, it was, all it was a series of percentages with no direct accountability. Then we came up with the matrix.
Yeah,
It's a little overkill. Some people would say it's a lot overkill. Some people would say not enough, but all I'm saying is we need to work together.
yeah, we can work through that and make some reasonable
anything-
recommendations, yes. So I
Anything with
appreciate you
accounting is
bringing this up. Any other,
Yes, I agree with you that the matrix we have now, just like the movie, is very hard to follow. So it would be great to revise it and update it. I think this is great too. I think it'd be really good to get together and update and iron out some issues with the current policy, because it is a sticking point right now. One question I did have is, a lot of towns have a simple one-page policy with percentages. Is that something that you think the majority of your board would support?
No.
Okay.
No, the thing is, there was, the percentages need to have some kind of direct relationship to the actual cost.
Yeah.
In certain areas, I agree that it should be percentages, because you can't actually get direct costs. And it makes sense to do that, as long as we can work it out. All I'm saying is that we need to revisit that and actually come up with it. Is it a simple process? No, there's a lot of money here. And it should be transparent. And that's what we work in government, to be transparent. And it should be something that could be auditable, and it could be, and it'll
I think we could work it
do
out.
the,
Yeah.
we can work together. And we do, but we do need to do a subcommittee to do so. We can't do it on live TV on everything.
well, we need to be on live TV, so,
No, I'm saying, we don't have to be on live TV in order to work out the backroom details of what the percentages are and the matrix, is why my point.
What he's trying to say is, 6 years ago, we had staff members involved, the board chair from each board. Mike Maresco, myself, Sean would be involved, and we would come up with pretty much a guideline what to go with. And then we
Okay.
meet with, the two boards would meet, discuss it, and decide what they wanted to go.
Right.
Am I right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
so is this proposal similar to what you had done in the past, or is this different than your proposal?
They did it just before I got on, so about 8 years
It'll
ago.
be the
They
same.
wanted to do it like 6 years ago, but we couldn't get agreement from the boards, but I think
Okay.
now we can get agreement to take a look at it.
Okay,
And we're having great communication.
okay. Eric?
No, it's, I think, like Steve said, I think you can get this down to a page or a couple of pages and simplify the process and not go through a mountain of paperwork to figure it out. It's, I think, it's the way I'm looking at it. I'm
Okay.
open to find out what the numbers are and where we should be at for the ratepayers and taxpayers.
Right.
All right, thank you.
And to be quite honest with you, I don't have any ownership of the document that we did put together with Rocco and others. But I think that we do need to come with some kind of agreement between the two boards, that there is a happy medium somewhere in the middle.
Okay,
All right, next is the reserve funds for enterprise accounts. The Board of Public Works has a policy in which many years ago, 2006, we established a reserve of $1 million for water, $1 million for sewer, $500,000 for solid waste. It was established that we we knew other towns that were having financial problems because they didn't have reserves. As we move forward, we're looking at increasing both, all those reserves by 50% because it's been 10, 15 years since we actually did that. And we're also looking to increase our emergency lines from $100,000 per enterprise to $300,000 just because of the cost of doing business nowadays. So that's where we are on that, and we'd like to be working with the town administrator to focus in on the financial aspect of that. And we include in that, in the rate, our rate structure. So it's good financial management to have something in the bank when you have an emergency. And nowadays, everything costs 3 times what it used to cost 10 years ago. And so we're trying to update that. The next item is any questions?
Just a second, yeah. So your current reserves are 1 million water, 1 million sewer, and 500 in solid waste, is that
Right.
correct? Okay, so you're proposing 100K in addition and 300K due to the cost of doing business today. So are those, where are you getting those numbers from?
So, the reserve is part of the money that we hold aside in the bank. That from the rates that we keep, we hold back $1 million in each of the funds. We're proposing that we're going to do a 50% increase. Instead of $1 million, we're going to $1.5 million. In our budget, under each of the enterprises, we have an emergency line for operations for $100,000. Because things have cost so much, we want to go from 100 to 300,000 as an emergency line, which we can't access that until the advisory board approves it anyway. But we would like to have it go as a line item at town meeting to get voted instead of 100,000, 300,000. Sean, go ahead.
Well, you pretty much answered it. For instance, we had a sewer main problem down on Avon Street, and we pretty much wiped out the reserve, the 100,000. And if something else happens, we might be in a little bit of trouble. So what Bob's trying to say is we want to increase that line item to 300,000 if possible, to cover any type of situations, because our infrastructure's getting old, so we need to have a little bit in reserve in case we do have an emergency.
Okay. Questions?
Yes. So based on the current state of the reserve fund accounts and the cost of doing business today, what impact do you see on the rates going forward? And whichever is easier, either percentage amount or a raw dollar amount?
Rod Procasino has all those figures. I don't have them in front of me,
Sure.
but Sean can get them for you.
I'm trying to think of how to answer this.
You can get back to us as well.
Yeah,
If you-
like we were talking about, so many things have gone up in costs.
Yeah.
Bob said it's tripled. I want to say it's quadrupled, because some of the prices we get for things, Ken and I are like, our eyes are ready to fall out sometimes. So, when we answered these questions, we just wanted to give you an idea of what we're thinking on this side going forward. Does it have to be those numbers exact? No, but we're gonna have to do something about it in the future.
I mean, we could have, you and I and all of us know that we could have conversations on each of these topics that would go on for quite a long time. So
Oh, yeah.
I know that this is just kind of a little bit of an exercise in a way, but I appreciate you just even giving us numbers, so thank you.
No problem. I mean, I wanted to give it to you in writing, so
Yeah,
it would kind of,
yeah,
That's excellent, yeah.
yeah, I appreciate it. Go ahead, Eric.
There you go. All right, so the enterprise accounts, 1 million for water, 1 million for sewer, and 500,000 for solid waste. Are those are accounts that you guys control, right? And so, do you collect the interest on it? In these accounts?
That would be a treasure issue.
do we collect the interest on this?
I'm not sure if you're talking about the retained earnings
I
balance?
think, I would say that, yeah.
Sean, would you mind just, if you're going to appreciate it, and just, everybody, we all know who you are, but just for the
Yeah.
public, thank you.
Yeah, so if we're talking about retained earnings balances, those are earning interest currently. So those interest credits are being applied towards the individual enterprise funds.
So you're saying that so water is collecting the interest, sewer is collecting the interest, and all that interest is staying within those accounts?
They're being credited as interest income on those investments for each one of those enterprise funds, yes.
So they're staying within, the interest is staying within those accounts?
Correct.
Okay.
Stay with the funds. So when you say accounts, I want to be clear, we're not talking about when the interest is earned, they're credited as revenue, as interest income revenue for each one of the enterprise funds. So it's money,
Not the individual,
because it's spread across multiple bank accounts. It's a diversified investment. It's not in one particular bank account, it's in multiple bank accounts.
So the water, the 1 million, let's say, water, 1 million for water. That's not its own account. It's
No.
blended in with, what else, so is it blended with many other accounts, or is it blended in just with water, sewer, and solid waste?
So with fund accounting, we're able to pinpoint the percentage of the interest that is earned by the enterprise fund that is deposited with each institution. It's not segregated currently.
From, so I think, that's what I'm trying to find out. Maybe I'm misunderstanding because
Because
you have your perspective, maybe a little, maybe, I should say, you explained it, I'm not picking up on it.
Well, you're talking
As
about-
to your field, so is, the water account is not its own account, is what you're saying, right? So, nor is the sewer, nor is the solid waste. So, but you're saying they're in blended accounts?
that is correct.
Okay, so water, sewer, and solid waste, are they blended together, or they're blended with other accounts outside of that?
So right now, the town's liquid resources, we call it pooled cash. Everything is pooled together in multiple institutions. Because cash management on a monthly basis, each fund would have to be reviewed, and those cash levels would have to be adjusted.
All right, so here's what I'm looking at in regards to their request here, because they're looking for, I imagine, Mr. Shaughnessy, the emergency lines of 100 grand to 300 grand, you're saying those emergency lines are for these accounts that you want to tap into?
Each of the enterprise funds have an emergency line, normal budgeting with all personnel and everything else, and there's a bottom line for emergency. The bottom line is, all we're asking is instead of having $100,000 there, have $300,000 in there in case we do have an emergency. And we go over. That way we don't have to do a special town meeting to get additional emergency funding.
Yeah, you'd just be able to
We just
go in
tap
there.
into that, go through the process of going to the Board of Selectmen, going to the advisory board and getting it approved, versus having a special town meeting to do so. It's more of a streamlined approach on an emergency.
All right, I mean, I'm looking at like, I mean, you currently are sitting with $1 million in water, $1 million in sewer, and $500,000 in solid waste in these accounts?
In most cases, depending on what projects we are and when we're funding things, pretty much that's the policy of the board,
And the revenue coming
and
in.
the revenue coming in.
We like to have in the bank $1 million in each account, but besides the solid waste, 500,000.
It's like a backstop for you, just in case something
Well, it's
comes up. I was
reserves.
like,
It's
yeah.
reserves,
Yeah.
yeah.
Eric, a
After
reserves.
all our bills are paid and the projects are done, we want to try and bank
Extra
that kind of
money in there. So my question to you, I guess, Sean, is that, I mean, wouldn't it make sense for these accounts to be collecting their own interest, so it would benefit?
They are,
Yeah.
well, but Eric, they are earning their own interest. It has to do with, the percentages are set based on the cash levels that, again, each enterprise fund, depending on the ebb and flow of the receipts coming in, the expenses going out, that drives what's called their pooled cash total. That pooled cash total, a percentage of whatever is earned, whatever the percentage of their deposit or their pooled cash amount, that is what's applied as interest income. So it is separated. But when you're talking about bank accounts, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about fund accounting versus pooled cash that's on deposit at each institution or wherever the cash is being invested.
Yeah,
It's
so-
two different things.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I think, the problem is that the difficulty, in my opinion, so, and then trying to understand it all, because it gets so complex, and I don't even know if there's a reason for it. So I'm asking, all right, water, sewer, and solid waste are blended in with other accounts, you're saying, right?
The money is pooled together.
So, all right, so,
Correct.
but the interest that are accrued on it, how those accounts accruing the interest when they're blended in with other accounts in the town?
If we earn so much in interest, and a portion of that is general fund, a portion of that is proceeds from a bond, a portion of that is for the pooled cash total for each one of the enterprise funds, a percentage is assigned. That percentage is then used to allocate the interest that's earned for that month. That is how it's handled, because the cash levels for each one of those funds fluctuates every month, depending on what's being paid, depends on what's being collected, what's being billed. There's a lot of factors that will dictate what the true cash balance is for each one of those enterprise funds. What you're suggesting is segregating those funds into separate bank accounts. That would have to be managed every month. We'd have to go in and adjust those levels depending on what the pooled cash balance is for each one of those enterprise funds. But the system that we have, that's why we have fund accounting. We're able to do that without having to have the expense of individual bank accounts. With pooled cash, we're actually able to leverage the interest earnings and get a better rate if we pool things together, as opposed to keeping $1 million here and $500,000 there. We're not going to get the sort of return.
Yeah, I just don't know who that benefits more, whether it's these accounts or whether it's the towns in general and all that. I guess it's something that needs to be, my look at it is something that needs to be reviewed, maybe along with the indirect policy change in regards to these funding and all that and everything. So I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
If Sean wants to add on afterwards, that's fine, but I think it's something I think needs to be looked at as well.
So I'm just going to say, Accounting 101 that I took a long, long time ago, this is on, as Eric said, it is complex. But I know, and I looked at a lot of paperwork when I started this role here, and I think we've got ourselves in a situation where we're in good standing based on our bond rating and everything else. But Michael, do you have something you'd like to add?
Oh, just very quickly, I think, just to try to make it a little easier to understand municipal finance. So what Sean's saying is all the accounts are in what they call pool cash.
Yep.
That cash earns interest. If the water represents 2%, then whatever the interest was that month,
It gets 2%.
the 2% of that belongs to that account. We just don't break it out, but it has interest income is assigned to that, and that's how it's broken down.
Yep. Because the alternative is super complex.
Every single thing with all, and every single month. But
And
that's
it's
the-
not
Right, and
necessarily
those are
a
not
benefit to
town
the
rules.
town.
Those are not Sean's rules. Those are the Commonwealth's
County.
municipal
Yes.
finance rules.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, could I just
Yes.
ask one last question?
Absolutely.
Sean, what are the recommended best practices for reserve fund levels for enterprise accounts?
Recommended best practices is look at the percentage of the income, and typically it's anywhere from 5 to 10%. So I think right now, 1 million is adequate, but considering the aging infrastructure and the challenges of getting the infrastructure repaired, I would also probably side with the Board of Public Works and recommend increasing it.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Appreciate it. Okay, it took longer than I expected, but
Okay,
it was all
that's all right.
well worth it. Thank you. Go
This is a
ahead.
good discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
Road acceptance policy. I'm going to turn that over to Sean, and I might have a comment afterwards.
So, the town of Marshfield currently has a very, very good subdivision policy, I think, and I've used it in other towns, to be honest with you. I think it's well done, well-written. It was devised by the planning board. Whatever policy we decide to come up with as a group, I think that should be work in conjunction with the subdivision policy. Because if the roads are built today, or even the last 10 to 15 years, which I wrote in the literature here, if they're done to subdivision policy, we can pretty much do an overview with the engineers and accept the road, because it's done the way that they should be. There's a lot of roads in this town that aren't going to qualify ever. It would take an act of God to do it, because they're too small, they're too narrow, they're just not in good shape. But there are a lot that could meet the criteria, and that is road condition, proper drainage, sidewalks if necessary, the width, and the proper pavement. In other words, we have a base coat and a top coat. And if they haven't fallen apart, I think they make good candidates. But that's something we have to work on together as well down the road, because it's going to take a little bit of planning. And I think a lot of the roads in town could meet the spec going forward.
Okay.
So the Board of Public Works has not accepted any roads in a long, long time. The reason, one of the reasons why is because when we were accepting roads back in 2002, late 90s, 2002, we were accepting roads that were totally disrepaired. And we said, this is an overburden on the town's infrastructure. If we accept a road, the road's got to have a useful life of at least 10 or 15 years or 20 years before we start actually putting any money in. We don't want to be accepting a road and then turn around and have to spend $3 million to fix that road. It doesn't make sense from an overall view. Right now, funding is majority of it is through Chapter 90 money. Some of these roads and neighborhood roads are not eligible for Chapter 90. Back in 2002 to 2012, I think we were getting $300,000 out of the general fund. Last year, I think we got $100,000 in the spring, $100,000 in the fall. And it's been, town money has not really kept up with the cost of doing a road. I mean, to do a good road, it used to be $1 million a mile to do a road over. What is it now, Sean?
It varies on the condition of the road. Like we've done some roads, and we've got a mile, and it's cost us about $400,000. I think what he's talking about was the extra money we get for road reconstruction money that we use for the unaccepted roads and other projects that we do that fall out of the criteria of Chapter 90. It is very important. We do get a lot of work done with that money. And since I've been here working with Mike, he's always reached out and given us what he could at the time. And we appreciate that. And we're going to need some more going forward.
Of course, absolutely.
But
Can I ask you, so the Chapter 90 funds that you have is based on mileage, and there's two other criteria, as I recall.
mileage,
Census,
population, and
Yeah.
the business involvement in town.
Okay.
People
Jobs
doing
and the jobs.
business.
Yes,
The
right.
jobs.
So has that calculation, if it hasn't been changed since 2002, whatever you said, that calculation has remained stagnant all this time?
Pretty much, it goes up and down.
So when you
Very
look,
little.
when you're looking at subdivision plans, I know a little bit about it, but I don't know a lot about them, but the actual subdivisions themselves, you're right, they have a certain amount of binder coat, base coat, everything is now, all the utilities are below ground, et cetera, et cetera. So when we're talking about instituting changes in the actual mileage, the end result will be an actual benefit in the Chapter 90 funds.
Yes, it
So
will.
why has it taken so long to get to this point?
It's a three-factor, though. Mileage is only one of the three factors.
Right.
Your employment
Census
rate
hasn't
has
changed that
to
much.
change also. The population, I think, has to change. So the issue is the other two stay stagnant. It's only one, you're only getting, if every mile you increase, you're only getting like a 1/3 benefit going forward. If we accepted every road in this town, we would, from a reliability standpoint, would be reliable for all the
Yeah,
roads.
I don't think that's what I'm asking, I'm just.
No,
I know what you're asking.
I think Sean's, yeah,
I know what you're asking.
okay.
And you're asking the question, if we accepted some of these roads that are recently done in the subdivisions, would it increase our Chapter 90 funding? And we wouldn't have to go in and repair those roads because they're already in good shape? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, yes. in
I
fact.
don't know why we haven't entertained that, but we are ready to entertain that.
Well, that's good to hear.
Excellent.
And that's the planning, that's not necessarily select board, correct? That's other policy changes
Yeah.
within town government, so,
And
go ahead.
I think we've made a lot of strides in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Between the two boards working together, and that's what it's gonna take. Like I said before, there is really no acceptance policy, but I think we need to really revert to the subdivision policy to start.
It's a great start. You're all set?
Just a couple questions.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think Bob would agree that the road acceptance policy has been a sticking point for a few years between our two boards. So this is a great idea to try to move forward on this. And I think a lot of people who live on new developments and their streets are up to code would be thrilled and really psyched to have their roads accepted. Is this something that you think you have the votes for on your board?
I think so.
I think that we need to work out a good policy between the two boards. And I propose that we, like the indirect, we do a road policy acceptance group with the town administrator and the chair of the board of select board, myself, and our staff, and come up with a good proposal to present to the board of selectmen and the board of public works, so that we're on the same page.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then just my last question is, in terms of the first step for road acceptance, do you want to submit a list of roads, or do you want us to make the first move? How would you prefer to kind of take the first step?
So that-
I think the superintendent should come up with the first.
Yes, I work closely with a consultant that does a lot of our road management, and he's gonna meet with me this week, and that's one of the things we're gonna talk about. And we will, between the engineers, myself, and the board, we'll come up with a list of roads that we think we're actually good candidates for now to get started.
Awesome. I think it's very exciting. Actually, one last question. Do you think that's something that can be done in time for the upcoming town meeting in December? Or do you think more time will be needed to?
Spring.
Spring? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Eric?
By not accepting these roads over, I don't know how many years, depending on how long these development's been around, I mean, how much money are we leaving on the table?
Depends on how many roads that we accepted.
Well, I mean,
Well, the issue
you
is-
see that you guys got a ballpark idea of what you
No
want?
idea.
You don't know?
What was you, would you ask again? I'm sorry.
In regards to what you're looking at to accept the roads, how much money do you think you're leaving on the table?
I don't think we're leaving any money on the table.
No?
To accept roads now with the,
No.
I mean, between the money that we're getting from the state or the federal government in regards to accepting roads?
I don't understand what you're asking.
Well, don't,
If we
So when you
accepted
accept
all the
roads-
10 years ago.
Oh.
How much more money would we have today in chapter 90 money? And based on the formula, which is not just the road, the mileage, because there's other factors that go
I
along
understand
with it.
that.
I don't think it's a lot of money. I think the liability of doing it wrong and taking on a big responsibility of fixing all these roads is far greater from a liability standpoint and a financial hit to the town by accepting all those roads that are not in good shape is far greater. But I'm more than willing to work with the select board, with the town administrator, to get the roads that are in good shape, so that it's not gonna cost us on day one to fix those, and then put them on a schedule that we repair those roads in 20 years.
I know what you're asking now. And we'll go back 10 years. Not a lot of subdivisions were put in that really calculated a lot of mileage. You get about roughly $5,400 a mile from Chapter 90. That's what they give you. So a lot of the roads that were on the list back 10 years ago really didn't meet the criteria at all. There was very few roads that did. But now we've kind of, in the last 10 years, the town's grown a little bit, and there are some newer subdivisions that I think we need to look at to get that extra mileage that we needed.
All right, I mean, that's one thing that people have brought to my attention when I was running is the amount of money that we're not getting in regards to bringing these roads in.
10 years ago, it
Then you
wasn't a
could-
lot, Eric.
And then you could take that money, especially if you don't have to do the work on the roads, like you said, and apply it to other areas. I mean, the other thing is too, is that I'm not opposed to, I brought up, is that this town collects about over $4 million in excise taxes, from vehicles and all that.
So are you?
So, I mean,
Eric, are you going down a road of what your policy was when you were campaigning? Because that's not why they're here
I'm not
right
saying,
now.
I wasn't saying, well, I don't say it was a policy, I was just saying it was a suggestion.
Okay,
So if you're looking for
Let's
just the
just-
dollars and cents and the liability, as Sean said, I would, total reconstruction 10 years ago was $10 million, $1 million a mile, a lane mile. All right, if Sean was saying if we can do a road over for $400,000. So we do a lane mile for $400,000. So if you get a mile of neighborhood roads, it's $400,000, and your increase is only going to be $4,000. It's going to take you 100 years to make up the difference. I mean, we have to be cautious on how much liability the town needs to take on. And, we probably went too far and said, we're not going to accept any roads. But I'm here today with staff saying, we collectively can move forward and accept certain roads that won't cost us at day one or day 10 years, and that we can get the revenue in so that we can start maintaining what we have. And it's not just Chapter 90 money, we need general fund money to be on that. And we used to get $300,000 a year on general funds, and past year was 200, and other years it was 100,000, so we're a little on the short side, even from the town side. So, I think we just need to work together. And I think we come up with a consolidated policy based on what input from the select board and my board and our staff and the town administrator, so that we come up with a fair policy across the board.
I don't disagree. It's, you just look at going through the neighborhood, especially where I live, the streets aren't all that bad. It's the sidewalks that are in crummy shape. And I got plenty of people that walk through the neighborhoods, kids that play in the neighborhoods and walk the sidewalks, and they're a tripping hazard. And that's not just my neighborhood, but many neighborhoods, especially along the Careswell Street.
We can't plant trees between the sidewalk and the road, because it's just gonna pop the
No,
sidewalk.
but that's the thing. There are trees that are already planted, that the root systems have, so the whole thing is that even without that, it's just that sidewalks, even without the trees, the whole thing is that they haven't been touched. They're probably original with the development and haven't been,
So if it's a private road, then it's the responsibility.
well, it's not a private road, it's a public road. The whole thing is, I'm saying is that it's probably hasn't been maintenance since it's been developed in 30-something years or whatever. And the whole thing is that the neighborhood, especially the roads and sidewalks, also improve the, how can you say, when you do the proper maintenance, when it should be done, you can look at it as property values in the area as well for homes. So, like I said, you have an excise tax that we collect on vehicles. I would say try and chip into that, the general fund and your road acceptance. And I'd say at least start getting the sidewalks in town fixed. That's my
Pedestrian
look at it.
safety is, from a state level, it's not this policy, but it's a whole different issue. That, pedestrian safety is big, that we've been trying to work through safe routes for a number of years. The maintainers of existing sidewalks, we haven't really focused in at all.
Yeah, but this doesn't prevent you from
No, I,
replacing sidewalks or repairing them, right?
It costs an awful lot of money. And we
Costs
get
money.
$758,000 a year from Chapter 90, and 95% of it goes to main arteries. Once you start up in North Marshfield and work your way around and go back again, it's like 15 years. And not just this community, any community I've worked in, the Chapter 90 money specifically goes for the main roads.
Yeah, see, I look at it as just,
So,
the towns are doing, at least this one, I can't, I know you mentioned other towns, but this is not the way to go to run a town and then let your infrastructure, especially your sidewalks, fall apart. And I think that needs to be worked out in regards to what you need for funding to get that done and squared up in this town.
all right.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to finish with road acceptance policy. You're going to work on, with your consultant and try to identify a list. And then, as I said earlier, we could have conversations on each of these topics that go on and on and on.
We could go in depth
Yes.
a lot more.
So
for
I'd
sure.
just like you to suggest to you that you reach out to our town administrator when you get some sort of a knowledge base of what we're doing, and we will work towards this goal.
Very good.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add, Michael?
No, I think that was great.
Okay, all right.
So-
Plymouth Ave pump
Plymouth
station.
Avenue, you want to turn this over to Ken Ryan?
So for the Plymouth Ave pump station, we had $8 million in SRF funding that we obtained for that. We started that project actually in July. It's a long lead project, mainly because of the items we have to buy. Getting new generators, transfer switches, different control panels. It's just supply chain now, it takes forever. So we're underway on it. If anybody's driven down Plymouth Avenue, the building looks horrible because we stripped everything off the building to rebuild it. We're adding an additional generator room on the side of it, so we're putting a new foundation right now. The goal is to get the building all tightened up this fall so that we're ready for the winter. It'll be quiet for the winter, and then come spring, hopefully we'll get the equipment that we've ordered, and we can actually go full bore on that project. But it's like an 18-month project to get it done.
I could ask you some more questions on this, but I'm going to refrain. Go ahead.
I'm
Steve.
good, thank you.
Eric?
Yeah, I think I'm good with it.
Okay,
So next item,
yes.
the wastewater treatment plant sewer expansion. I'm going to turn that over to Sean.
So we have a consultant, Environmental Partners, which actually does our road maintenance as well, currently working on a master plan for the sewer expansion. It includes South River and Kent Park in the master plan as we speak now. And one of the things we need to address before we start expanding sewer is we need to correct some of the issues with our collection system we have currently now. We need to take care of the inflow and infiltration, I&I issues in the low-lying areas, reline infrastructure that is compromised, leaking or corroded, and replace valves that are not working properly. These updates will require additional funding outside the ratepayers because it's just way too much for them to handle. And Ken, do you have anything you want to add to the master plan?
Sure. So similar to the Plymouth Avenue pump station, we requested funding from SRF at the same time actually as the Plymouth Avenue pump station, but we did not receive it. We were not awarded the money. We were in the process of again requesting additional funding for that project.
So sometimes with these funding sources, do you do like where you were awarded it with the Plymouth Ave, and then was there an expected, were you expecting to have this awarded and it didn't happen? Can you just?
Well, you're always, when you're submitting, you're always hoping.
Well,
to get it.
sometimes there's and I understand that,
And
but,
the state prioritizes the list, and we had the Plymouth Avenue made the cut, and
Yes.
this work missed the cut.
okay.
But again, we need the funding, so we've requested it yet again.
Can you just tell me the master plan, is it a 3-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan?
We're looking at, it's a longer term.
10 years. 10
You
years,
said
right?
that pretty quickly. It's
No,
a
I've
10-year
worked-
plan?
I've worked on the master plan for the town. And then I did the infrastructure component for water sewer.
Okay.
All those plans are 10 years plus
Okay,
when you're working going forward. I mean, the big thing with the sewer is that the I&I, the amount of flow that's coming in from groundwater, we tighten that up, then we don't have to treat it in the wastewater treatment plant. That gives us more flow that we can actually do it for expansion. Kent Park is a prime case. I mean, that has a high groundwater too, but new sewers in there would tighten it up, and it's an eco risk component for that. Carolina Hill, and then if we start getting into what the state's really pushing in a lot of towns, in our town was the MBTA high density housing, which is all within our zone too. So if they propose the MBTA zoning for high density, where the hell's the wastewater going? It's going to go in our groundwater, and it's going to go in our well system. So we need to protect ourselves. So if we have a tight wastewater treatment system, we have tight sewers, we could actually do something about the wastewater if that's being pushed on us in the future. So we still need to, and as I say, this is a 10-year plan. So it's not just like something that we're gonna do next year. I might be long gone before then. But at least put the plans in place.
So do you have a short-term plan?
Short-term plan? Our short-term plan is to tighten the system up so that we have capacity in the future.
Okay,
That's a short-term plan.
Okay.
That way, that'll allow us to have a treatment facility that we're not treating fresh water.
okay.
We're treating wastewater.
As I said, I could ask a ton of questions. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, we hope you're still here, Bob.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Be optimistic.
I've only been on this board for 22 years.
So in your update, you guys mentioned that you have a master plan for South River and Kent Park. Is there one for Black Mountain as well, or is that incorrect?
Yes,
Yeah, we did that.
We had already done that, yes.
Okay. So the master plan's in place, it's just a matter of just kind of over 10 years moving forward.
Looking at additional areas, yes, in addition to those.
Awesome, okay. And then for Black Mount, I guess is one of the reasons that that's being targeted is kind of the nitrate levels are starting to elevate.
The wells,
Okay,
we got Webster 1 and 2.
okay.
And with the issue of the PFAS,
Yes,
that's in laundry detergent,
yeah,
that's all over, and the numbers are going down. And the Cape Cod is a perfect example. They're putting sewers everywhere. I mean, I was out in Nantucket for my regular job, and talking to the sewer and water people out there. If you don't know, I work for Mass DEP.
cool, yep.
We were out there, and basically they're putting sewers everywhere. They don't want the wastewater in the groundwater.
Yeah.
Because that's the groundwater which they drink. And Nantucket is a nice sandy soil. Marshfield, nice sandy soil. There's no retardation. You put it on top of the ground, you put it in the ground, it's going to your wells. And that's the whole thing about the Ferry Street component to it. And there's no treatment. You can have the best treatment system out there. It's not gonna treat PFAS.
Yeah.
That's aside though.
No, thank you.
So, the last item was,
Sorry, Bob. Just one more question, and then if Eric has any. Just the last question I had is for folks who already have sewer in their area, do you know how many folks haven't connected to the system yet?
I think,
everyone has.
Yeah.
Well, there was a waiver.
There-
We
there-
did sewer
there-
2000, there was a waiver that people had a new septic system. They had so many years in order to hook up. That would be a good question to ask Public Health, because they would have to update their permit for that waiver.
Ken's got the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, the Board of Health does actually have a database of the people who have not yet hooked up.
Cool.
I don't know what that number is. It's a pretty small percentage.
Okay.
Very.
Yeah.
Last I knew was very small.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any,
Thank you.
It's cheaper to be on sewer than it is to have a septic system.
Yeah.
There's a tie-in fee though, right?
Again?
There's a tie-in fee to
There's a
join
tie-in
it?
fee.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
So in regards to this expansion of the sewer system, and what you're looking for is to expand the, do you need to expand the plant as well?
So that's a good question. Right now, the plant's running, the capacity is about 2.1 million gallons a day. Right now, we're running somewhere between like 1.1 and 1.3, so there's plenty of room to approach that. But when you get to like 80% of that 2.1 million, then you really need to start looking at how can you increase the capacity of the plant. So for right now, that's part of what we're looking at in this sewer expansion study, is to figure out if you expand the sewer, how far will you get before you then have to do something at the actual plant?
Or an additional plant.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is too, is that you need to account for water penetration getting into the sewer system as well. So you have that extra water. I mean, I remember, what was it, 2015, we had that big storm? I believe it was you, Sean, that was the superintendent. I think when I was watching that, I think you said that the needles were pinned at the sewer plant in regards to how much water was getting into the sewer lines.
Since then, a lot of that's been taken care of. We do a lot of what they call lining of the pipes,
Right.
in situ forming, as you will. It's like a polyethylene liner that goes on the inside of the pipe, and it's guaranteed for decades. It's less evasive. We're not digging up streets and replacing infrastructure. You just go in to manhole to manhole. They apply the material, and it's quite a process. I actually want to watch it done. We're going to do some stuff around here. But that's one of the things we're looking at doing to try and get the system up to where it should be. And we have done some, and we have done some replacement. I'm a firm believer of the less evasive, the better off we're going to be, and the less cost we're going to incur by doing the work.
Okay.
There's, we see that along the sewer lines, a lot of people are tearing down their homes and building bigger ones, or they're making additions. So which is putting more stress on, would I be correct that they're saying they're probably putting more stress on the sewer line?
It's adding more flow
Yeah,
as they build a bigger house.
right.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that.
So, I mean, would it make sense, especially where all I'm hearing is that you need money for those sewer lines to keep up with it, the maintenance, everything like that, to tie some kind of funding in regards to people making the houses bigger, in regards to tearing it down and completely building a new one and a bigger one, or expanding their home to make it bigger, where you're gonna have potentially more people living in there. And I mean, when you built the sewer line, it was pretty much, I would say, most of it was based on smaller homes. Now all these homes are ginormous, I guess you could say. People are taking advantage of it. I mean, if they were still on a septic system, there's no way they would have these homes. No way. So has the board considered tacking on a fee in regards to, or, you know, creating a fee of X amount of dollars, especially when somebody knocks down the house or puts some kind of expansion onto it to make up for the extra flow and the maintenance going to be needed onto the sewer system?
The board has talked about that, but again, that's something that's not really in our wheelhouse when it comes to assessing the rates. I mean, we do the rates, but what I'm trying to say is the property would have to be assessed for more value, and
Why would it have to get assessed for more value when if they're gonna go in for a permit to demolish the house, or like this?
well, you're telling me they're building bigger houses, so I'm assuming that it's not going to be assessed at the same value, the property.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're gonna put an expansion onto their home or raise it to build a bigger house, or you couldn't have a straight-up fee saying, hey, if you're gonna make your house bigger, you're gonna pay X amount of dollars more to a special fund into the sewer fund.
But I think that has to go before both boards, not just the DPW board. Am I
So
correct?
we at the Board of Public Works have issues with a lot of sewer costs that are going forward that will benefit the whole town, even those people that are not on sewer, that we need to have some kind of shared responsibility for the benefit of the town. What you brought up is someone's bringing a bigger house, the tax rate is going to be based on value. So if it's a $400,000 house, now it's $1 million house, their tax rate just went up twice. You know, bottom line is that if we have the capacity at the wastewater treatment plant to do so, the town benefits. If it's, you know, it's across the board, if we have expansion on the, for, I'm going back to the MBTA, district, and it's all within our zone too. And we're required to do that. There's a sheer responsibility there that's not just debate on the ratepayers, but it's a whole town piece. I think it's a policy issue that we, and the two boards that we have, need to work together to do that. We're not gonna do it, we're not gonna solve anything right here. We're just bringing in highlight at the moment of what we really need to do to work cooperatively. And that's what we're here for.
I mean, you say that expanding it will help the town in a whole. I mean, the whole thing is that you can't even maintenance what you have right now in regards to the expense of operating it. Now you want to make it a one big system all around town? I mean, that's going to cost,
Well, the issue is not the sewer, it's the water. We're not gonna have water, if we're gonna put all this wastewater into our zone two, we're not gonna have water to have any development. So, from a town-wide basis, it's not the sewer component that we're looking at the protecting our water supply. And that's why I'm so concerned about, why I'm on this board, to make sure that we protect our water supply. And the wastewater, you can't be putting in the ground. I mean, I'm speechless on how to explain this, but it's, how can you say, put a cost on clean drinking water? I mean,
So that's an argument.
that's the issue.
Drinking water is critically important to everybody. I drink out of a tap. My baby's bottles are fed out of a tap. So that argument is, everybody here in this room agrees with that. The issues that we all are seeing today are larger than that, way more complex than that. And the MBTA, PFAS, nitrogen loading, what they're doing down the Cape to get the certification on the septic systems down there, make sure their nitrate systems are across the board, and they have schedules, and that's critical to the Cape. And I understand what you're saying here in Marshfield is also part of the process. But what we're here today for you being here, as I said originally, we could have this conversation go on and on. So I want to just applaud you for coming, thank our board for asking some really good questions, and revisit this. Okay?
Absolutely.
So thumbs up for everybody for sitting through this, and thumbs up for everybody at home. Anything you'd like to add as town administrator?
No, I'd just like to say that, working with Sean and stuff, we have a great relationship. I've known Bob and I have served together many years, so I think we're starting to make some headway. They were agreed to come 4 times a year so that they can have a conversation going between the two boards.
Excellent. We have one point left, which is your dike and tide gates. But I'd like to ask, Steve has a final point on the previous, where Eric went on for a little bit. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm on town sewer. You get charged based on usage. So just the last question I had for you guys that I was thinking of during the discussion. What's the current capacity for our sewer system? How much do we use on average? And then, what's the worst that you've ever seen it?
Sean?
2.2 million gallons.
Yeah,
we
2.1
can handle
is
a
the
day.
capacity of the plant.
2.1.
The plant's 2.1. We're averaging 1.1 to 1.3 right now.
Okay.
During storms, it goes up again. It's an average daily of 2.1, so it fluctuates up and down. As Eric was saying, when we have a tremendous storm, then we see higher loading than that, much higher than that.
The worst I've seen was 1.8, and that was during the 2018.
18 stone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
The best we
Item.
can do is talk.
So I got, Ken wanted, we had the dike
Yep,
Yeah,
Dyke
just-
Road?
yep, go ahead, Ken.
Sure, just very quickly, so we had an incident with one of the tide gates at the dike. We had an emergency contractor come in and fix that. I can say that is now fixed, and everything looks much better over there. In going forward, we actually are soliciting bids. We're gonna get bids next week to look at redoing the dike, so upgrading the dike for the future. So that's something that we'll be looking into when we get those bids.
All right.
So one last item that I wanted to bring up is that Couch Cemetery, we did do an expansion, and we're in the process of rewriting the rules for Couch. We have a pretty good plan up there. It's a nice plan. A lot of it's already in place. And at our board, there was some people that had loved ones that are at Couch, and there's an issue of headstones, and we're trying to deal with that. And that we want to make sure that you know that we're proactive. We're working with town council and town administrator on every aspect of our infrastructure. And that the best thing we can do is have an open line of communication between the two boards, the town administrator, town council, and others, to work through these problems and challenges, and come up with solid policies to move them forward, so that all our plans are 10, 15, 20 years out, and 20 years from now, who knows who's going to be here and who's going to be doing it, but at least we come up with good plans and good consensus, and basically, that's why we're here, trying to work together.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
For taking the time for us, Michael.
Thank you for waiting.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Sean.
Thank you.
And thank you.
We'll see you in a few months. We'll see you before then, but thank you. So currently, the time is 9:09, and we have town council here, and I would like to, we've done number 2 on our action items, but I'd like to get to our number 1, discussion and vote on extension of the police chief contract. And we went into executive session to discuss strategy and preparation for that. And I'd like to give the public and the opportunity to our board to make a comment or two, if necessary, that we have reached in executive session a tentative agreement with the chief of police. And so we're excited about that. And we have a salary increase of $10,000 in year 1, a 2% increase to base pay in year 2, a 2% increase to base pay in year 3. It includes a clause for infectious disease under section 111F. There's also, it also includes a clause for $2,500 for captain's license, which is in lieu of private health insurance by his current policy and contract. And this is obviously subject to town council drafting the contract. So, would you like to, I'm excited about our chief being willing to serve the town of Marshfield. He's done an exemplary job, and we're in good hands. I could just go on and on about our police department. So Steve, if you'd like to add, it's been a long night already.
Yeah, I'll be quick. You know, I
Yeah.
think we have the best chief in the state, and we don't want to lose him. We never have any issues, and the police department proactively solves problems instead of causing them, and we haven't had a grievance once with the union under Phil's watch, so he's a great leader. They have a self-reinforcing and self-policing culture there, and that all comes from the top down, so we're lucky to have him.
Yep, no grievances and 30 years of service that we've got from our chief. So, Eric, anything you'd like to add?
Yes. Just want to state that I do believe the chief does a great service for the town, reviewing his past contracts and this one. And the economy the way it is, I was not for this contract, as I believe it was too rich, in my opinion. Not to say I like to put a price on anybody in regards to the job that they do and all that, but what the chief requested, and I would say pretty much got, I think exceeded what I would want to give him, and also my concerns would be what it would, how can you look at, set forth going forward with other negotiations. I think a lot of people in this town are at a point where they see their tax rates going up, the property taxes and everything, and could be at the point, and I think that, for me, voting to approve this pay raise would be going against that. So it's unfortunate, but I just, this is, it's something that's, I think, way too much, I think, for the town, and I think that's all I have to say on it.
All right, so I will make a motion that we settle this in executive session, but I will make another motion here in open session. The board moves to approve a 3-year extension from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027 for Chief Phil Tavares to include the agreed-upon language and benefits to be included in the contract extension. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Nay.
2-1 vote, and the motion passes. Madam
So-
Chair, if I may interrupt?
Yes, should we do-
If we could go to 7 right now while
Okay.
town council's here.
Yeah. Okay. So number 7 is a discussion and vote on the host community agreement for Health Circle. And this host community agreement was originally signed in 2019, January 14th. And this is a new host agreement. So Bob is here this evening. So Bob, can you just share with the board your impression of what this new agreement stands for and any changes that we've seen?
Sure. This is the second host community agreement with Health Circle. As you know, Health Circle and South Shore Buds are the two entities that the town agreed to support when it elected to approve 2 recreational marijuana facilities in the town. The first agreement with Health Circle was actually entered into in January of 2019. It was at or about the same time as South Shore Buds entered theirs. South Shore Buds promptly constructed their facility and opened, and as a part of their zoning approvals and the host community agreement, has been integrally involved in the potential light at the School Street and Plain Street area to facilitate traffic in the area. Something happened with Health Circle, which I don't fully comprehend. But after they entered their host community agreement, they went to the Zoning Board of Appeals and got a permit to reconstruct an existing building off of Enterprise Drive, 120. And for reasons beyond my knowledge and control, it never proceeded in a very prompt manner. And unfortunately for the town, when we were awarding that second license, we had a number of interested candidates, and all of them promised that if they were awarded the license and we signed a host community agreement, the project would be built promptly and they would open. And there was a reason for that, because the town stood to gain financially by some community impact fees. And Health Circle seemed to have a number of problems over the years getting going. And as a result, the town never realized any money from the Health Circle project. As a matter of fact, at one point, they allowed their zoning permit to expire, and it had to be reissued. In more recent times, they appear to have renovated the facility. They appear to be getting closer, but I don't know exactly when they're going to actually finish their facility. And they're now up for renewal with the state. The problem for us is that the rules have changed, and things that were more easily collectible from the former operators are now more, far more tedious for the town to collect the money. You can still collect many of the same things, but there's a whole new set of rules. And these adult use marijuana facilities are, I guess, relieved of some obligations that towns were formerly imposing on them. And some of them were things that they originally agreed to do with us. So when I drafted the new host community agreement, I put in the history of what happened here because I thought it was important that if we're going to enter a new host community agreement, that history be documented, because I've heard a number of people say over the years that if we knew now what we knew then, or vice versa, maybe they wouldn't have received the host community agreement. We would have chosen to go with somebody else. But it does appear that they are close to being ready to operate. I think the town administrator and the building commissioner have been into the facility and they've seen the progress, and they're getting closer. So some of the things that we were able to agree before, we can't propose anymore because they're in conflict with current regulations and law that have changed. So we've basically got a new host community agreement now that follows the requirements of the law and follows a template that's been produced by the CCC, the Cannabis Control Commission. We will still get some money, but we're now required, if we're asking for some of that money, to document the way that the money's expended. And I don't know that that's completely unreasonable, but there was less regulation at the time this one was originally done. And South Shore Buds, to their credit, did everything they agreed to do under their host community agreement and began paying the town and spent a lot of money, maybe even more than they expected, to try to help us with the light situation on Route 139. Health Circle didn't have to do any of those things. So what we have now is an obligation to pay all of the generally occurring fees like water service, real property taxes, personal property taxes, excise taxes, sewer system development charges, and service connection fees. If that area ever gets sewered, they'll pay for trash pickup and disposal expenses to the extent that those services are provided to them. They will pay all of the state fees. They will pay for all of the utilities. They have to comply with equity and local opportunity requirements of the new regulations. This is basically a new contract for them. It'll go out for as many as 5 more years. If we can demonstrate the expense to which this facility and the other one are having a direct impact on us, we can recover some of those expenses, provided we bill them and document them. So I've got that in there. And they're going to continue to pay for, and the town will share in some expenses that we are entitled to receive a proportion of their gross revenue, but it's not the same as it used to be, and I think that's unfortunate.
Okay. Bob, can you just, so disclosure, I was on the ZBA at the time.
Yep.
When these, when the bylaw changed to allow 2 establishments, and
Yep.
we struggled with trying to get that whole process in. So right now, we have it's referred to as an establishment with our bylaws, and then they have marijuana cultivator and marijuana retailer as their uses, which is a singular use, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so my problem is enough's enough. We had the owner here a year plus ago, and we had made, I recall, arrangements to go out monthly and have it maintained, so we would have an actual monitoring type of way of understanding where and how everything's gone on. So here we are, a year plus past that date, and we still don't have an operational business in there. Reasons were outlined in a email letter to us. But I am disappointed that this is the state. And the host agreement that was signed in 2019, to now do it again and reward somebody that has had the same, in my opinion, the same conditions by COVID, et cetera, maybe a few changes in the actual warehouse that he took ownership to, but those are expectations when you're running a business, correct? So I'm not inclined to grant this without a condition of something. So I'd like to hear what you have to say, but I'd like to have the motion to include an actual deadline date, which is not unheard of considering the different agreements that this town has used in the past. And so, Bob, if we go forward with this, obviously there are two options. We just deny the host agreement, we accept it as is, or we accept it with conditions. What is your impression of a December 1st? Yeah, December 1st end date.
I haven't been in the facility, so I don't know how far away they are from completion, but, I think they got their first building permit or they applied for their building permit in 2001.
Yeah, this has
And
gone
we're
on
now
and on.
in, towards the end of 2024, and I've seen a lot of complicated construction projects, but this isn't the
This
most
is-
complicated construction.
Yeah.
Although it's tedious, it just kind of escapes me how it could possibly take that long without there being something that we don't know. I know there was a period of time where they didn't supply some information and the building permit didn't issue until 2002, but building permits in this town are issued for 6 months. And it's sometimes bigger projects like the high school take longer period of time and they get extended as long as construction is ongoing. But there have been extended times where nothing happened here. And, they even outlived their 3-year special permit. So I think it would be completely appropriate to put a deadline on this. I just don't know what that deadline should be. I know the town administrator's been in there with the building commissioner. I don't know how much work is left, but, $600,000 worth of work is what it was originally projected to be, and, I don't know how much money they've spent. So, but the work did not get done in a timely fashion. So I think it is appropriate to put a condition that the host community agreement is contingent upon final completion by a date certain. And, if you impose a date certain that doesn't work for them, we can always have a discussion with them about it. But I think it's perfectly appropriate under the procedural history of this circumstance, because I'm fairly confident that the other persons that were interested in locating one of these facilities in Marshfield would have completed this by now.
Okay, so before we go any further, can you just look at the drafted host agreement number 5, where it talks about,
Annual payments?
yes, please. I wasn't here the last time, the host agreement, I wasn't sitting in the seat. Can you explain what, the impact fees have changed, obviously, but I was a little bit, I just need further clarification on number 10.
Okay, I'm getting to it now.
So that reads, "The company shall annually pay any undisputed CIF no later than the end of the current fiscal year or within 90 days of the date of the commission's CIF certification, whichever is later.
Okay, so, just so we're clear, the community impact fee is a fee that we claim is for costs that are reasonably related to the actual costs caused by the operation of this type of a facility. And under the new regulations in Massachusetts, we have to basically document those costs. They can't exceed 3% of gross annual sales, nor can they be calculated on a percentage of the company's sales. We actually have to provide them a annual itemized invoice for any fees that we claimed are reasonably related to their operations of the company. And we have to do that within 30 days of the anniversary of the date that they receive final licensure. And then we have to do that every year. And if we don't provide them that type of licensure or that type of information, we forfeit the amount that would be entitled to for that prior year. And then they have to pay it within 90 days of that's final. And some towns are actually waiving it because they determine it's too much trouble to even try to keep track of these things.
That's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah, there are towns that
Because-
are now not collecting them, and some of them are in the city.
Okay,
So they are going to pay all of the other normal fees that any other business would pay, real estate taxes, utility charges, excise taxes, all of those types of things. But, I don't know how we're
it's
gonna,
prudent for us to have it in here is really what.
yes.
and
We have,
outline
this
the-
gives us the right, but not the obligation to do it.
Okay,
Some towns are not even bothering to go there.
okay. But as we stand here, this is our vote is based on that concept, okay.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add, Steve?
Yes, I mean, this is something I've been dealing with my entire time on the board. It's been kind of ridiculous. We've just been strung along for years and years, and it's crazy how they were the first to get their approval, and they still haven't opened yet or finished construction. At least 3 or 4 times we've asked them for regular updates. They promised they would provide them, and they haven't. They've cost the town revenue by taking so long, and they've allowed their permits to expire. So they don't really seem like a serious business partner for the town. And they don't have a single representative here tonight while we're voting on their new host community agreement. And so for that reason, in all the things over the years, I find that to be incredibly disrespectful to us and disrespectful to the town. And I know folks are worried about litigation if we deny the HCA for Health Circle, but I mean, there's a fear of litigation from the other direction too. And the thing that concerns me is that our bylaw permits for 2 establishments, which seems pretty straightforward. But one concern of mine, and I would like to get an advisory opinion from the state or the Cannabis Control Commission, is because an establishment is defined by the state in the CCC as a marijuana cultivator, indoor or outdoor, a craft marijuana cooperative, marijuana product manufacturer, marijuana transporter, marijuana delivery operator, marijuana courier, marijuana research facility license, marijuana research facility licensee, a social consumption establishment, or any other type of licensed marijuana-related business except a medical marijuana treatment center. And the issue that we have is we already have 2 licenses in town. We have a retail license and a manufacturer license. So we're maxed out. So frankly, I don't want us to end up in a quagmire or a legal situation. So I think at worst, we should table it and wait for an advisory opinion from the state or the CCC, just so we don't end up in a quagmire.
Okay. So, since you just identified all the authorized operations of of an establishment, the town of Marshfield had the option of offering this particular enterprise a medical or, at the time, it was a retail marijuana, correct?
I think when they initially came in, they were going to have a medical marijuana
choose.
establishment and a recreational.
Yes.
And it is morphed into just a recreational because it's probably more burdensome and it's easier to sell it on a recreational basis.
Okay.
And what's
So-
surprising too is in Rockland, they're killing it. They're doing
Yeah.
a fantastic job. So I don't understand why we've had so many issues, because in Rockland, they're doing a great job and they opened very quickly. So I don't know what it is about us, but
Okay.
sorry, you can continue.
No, so, since you just brought it up, I'm going to ask town council to expand on what you're suggesting. So if we table this, the information that we would need to continue down this road of either changing or making editorial substantive changes to this host agreement that town council has drafted for us, what is the process of tabling this that would meet any legal requirements, Bob?
My recommendation is that you establish a deadline
Okay.
and offer them a new host community agreement.
Okay,
I haven't seen it, but I do rely upon the town administrator and the building commissioner who've told me that they've done a lot of work now, and they're close, although they don't have an occupancy certificate.
okay.
And I don't really want to talk about what happens if we don't finish this now.
Okay.
Incredibly frustrating. I completely agree with Steve and you, Madam Chair, regarding this matter. What happened here was, not acceptable. Because essentially they operated like they had a license and denied another business the opportunity. And frankly, they hurt the consumer. Because South Shore Buds has basically had a monopoly on something that we thought there'd be competition with. So it's not only the revenue that we lost, but it's the opportunities in town for people that wish to purchase this material were deprived of that too. Rockland has 4. There's a lot of competition when you have 4 in close proximity, and we missed out on that. It was a leap of faith by the town to even allow 2, because we could have said no and the vote was close. So that makes it just all the more disappointing. But I do think that the most appropriate thing to do here is to establish a deadline. If they can't figure out how to fix this by, at some point in December, then I think they have a bigger problem.
Okay, thank you. Eric?
This is all new to me, so I don't even know what the old contract says. So I would like to see that first. I am with you, Steve. I have no problem tabling this because as I am new, I want to see what the old contract says. I do have questions on the new one, but before I address that, I'd like to go back to the old one and go through that and then go from there. So you want to name a date to revisit this? Be my guest. I think voting on this right now would be a big mistake, especially where I'm new to it and I don't even know anything about it in the history of it, really, so.
Okay. Did you get an opportunity to read this agreement?
Oh, I read that,
Current
but I
agreement?
like to see the old contract
Okay.
that Steve and everybody's talking about. That's
Okay,
my interest right now.
okay. All right, then what are our next dates, Michael, that we could table this to?
October 5th or 7th, I'll tell you 1 second.
October 7th?
October 7th,
That's our next meeting.
that's our next meeting.
Okay, then I'd like to, based on, unless you'd like to add something else, but I think that's probably the most
Sure, yeah.
prudent thing to do at this point.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we make a motion to table it until
Yeah.
our next meeting, and if they get back to us in time, request an advisory opinion from the CCC or the state, and hope that they can get back to us before then.
Okay, all right. Do you want to make that motion? You want me to make that motion?
Dealer's choice.
Okay, I'll make the motion. So I'll make a motion to table this, this action item to October 7th, 2024, time 6:30. Is that all right, Michael?
Yes.
Add that in. And that will give us some time to investigate a little bit further. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Yeah, unanimous vote to table till October 7th.
Okay, thank you.
And can I just, someone make a copy of that previous agreement and throw it on my desk?
I have one, and I'll be happy to email it to you.
All right.
Mr. Kelly.
Actually, can you email it to Jenna, and then she can make a copy of it?
Yep.
And then put it on my desk?
Yep.
That's all right? Thank you.
I like paper too.
Yeah, paper's the way to go. I can't read a screen. It's painful.
So should we go to item 3 and then item 4?
Yes.
Where Sean is here. And is there anything else we need Bob for? Michael?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you to Town Council for sticking with us tonight. I appreciate it. And hello, Sean. It's been a long day for you. I apologize.
See
It
you,
is
Bob.
what it is.
Thanks, Bob.
You too.
Thanks, Bob. So, at our last meeting, we introduced the concept of reviewing our Marshfield Consolidated Fiscal Policy and our COSO Internal Control Framework, which is number 4. So if our treasurer could introduce himself for the record and explain to us what changes he is advising this board make. I'd appreciate it. Thank
So
you.
I'm Sean Strobel. I'm the town treasurer here for the town of Marshfield. Just want to talk about financial policies as a whole. Updated financial policies are essential to the long-term fiscal health and operational effectiveness of any organization, particularly in the public sector. Financial policies serve as the foundation for sound fiscal management by establishing a framework that governs budgeting, spending, and financial decision-making. Regular updates to these policies ensure that they remain aligned with best practices, legal requirements, and the evolving financial landscape. First and foremost, updated financial policies help mitigate risks. With clear guidelines in place, organizations can prevent issues such as budget overruns, non-compliance with laws and regulations, and fraudulent activities. Financial policies that incorporate up-to-date internal controls are key in safeguarding assets and ensure that public funds are used effectively and transparently. Additionally, modernized financial policies enhance decision-making and promote accountability. By providing clear parameters for spending, borrowing, and investments, policies help departments and staff make informed decisions that align with broader organizational goals. Furthermore, having clear, current financial guidelines ensure that all stakeholders, from department heads to elected officials, like yourself, are held accountable for financial actions and decisions. Updated financial policies also improve financial planning and sustainability. They provide a roadmap for managing resources, guiding everything from revenue forecasting and capital planning to debt management and emergency reserves. By incorporating the latest data and financial trends, organizations can make more accurate projections, respond to changing economic conditions, and ensure long-term financial stability. Lastly, updated policies foster public trust. Transparent and up-to-date financial guidelines show the community that public funds are being managed responsibly. By demonstrating a commitment to fiscal discipline, organizations can build trust with citizens and other stakeholders, which is critical for ongoing support and collaboration. In conclusion, regularly updated financial policies are vital for risk management, accountability, financial planning, and transparency. They ensure that organizations remain financially resilient and capable of adapting to new challenges while fulfilling their obligations to the community and stakeholders. For example, Board of Public Works. It's very important that we plan accordingly, especially with all of their challenges with the infrastructure. And this really ties into the capital planning that we engage in for a 5-year outlook, as well as other capital needs that the community needs. So going into some of the recommended changes, for the consolidated financial policy, one of the items that we had changed is changing the threshold from what's a requirement for a purchase order. Instead of it being a $2,500 threshold, we're reducing it down to $1,000. That's one of the changes. We're also requiring that departments engage in entering a requisition, which is the beginning stages of the purchasing or procurement process, which is key to ensure that there's no overspending. We don't deal with the budget overrides or the overspending that we've experienced. The other changes, we implemented a formal credit card policy. Before, the credit card policy was really tied to travel, but this credit card policy really speaks to what are the guardrails for purchasing and the utilization of a town credit card. And the other piece is the communication method with which an invoice that was submitted, which is now decentralized, how the accounting office is communicating with those impacted departments. I'm happy to answer any questions about the red line document that you received.
So I really appreciate you doing this, because this was a very extensive document, and to a layman, it's difficult to understand. So the 2 points, the $1,000 is key. The credit card policy, easily to understand from my standpoint.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. There is also, I was interested in the investment side of things, and this board obviously is always interested in the investment side of things, but we're working in a tight frame tonight, so we could talk, like I said before, we could talk about that forever and ever. But I did like that this particular policy, actually, on page 17, comments that creating an investment policy is the most critical phase of the entire investment process. Key, simple. And it's not simple. It's probably one of the most complex things that I've read, and municipal accounting is not an easy feat. So thank you for outlining this, and we have had some time to look at it, so I'm okay with your changes on this particular policy. So, Steve, do you have anything to add?
Yes, no, I think this is great. And one note in here, and you're 100% correct, is there were a lot of communities that got in trouble using one-time revenue sources for things that have recurring costs. Like a lot of communities used COVID money or ARPA funds to build things that had very expensive recurring costs. Not that it happened here, but I think Alabama used ARPA funds to build a brand new prison, which has huge recurring costs. So, and then we've seen other towns in our state get in huge trouble too and have layoffs and things of that nature. Just a couple of questions I had. I just wanted to make sure that I'm interpreting just like a handful of things on the new policy. So in terms of purchases, the state only requires you to go out to bid for a quote and get 3 qualifying quotes over 10,000, right?
That's a recommendation. However, we're recommending that as a best practice, that quotes are obtained really at a spend level of 500 and up. But really, bids are, this is all governed by the Inspector General's office, but we're asking our department heads to go out and ensure that they're getting the best possible price and the best quality product as well. Because just because they're getting, that goes back to the qualified bid, really making sure, qualified quote, just making sure that they're getting the best possible product for the best possible price.
And for the credit cards, the limit would be $5,000.
Traditionally, each card holder has a limit of 5,000. So just keep in mind that credit cards are viewed in 2 different fashions. They're deemed as debt that is not, it's an unsecured line of credit, just like your credit card you have in your own pocket, but it's unauthorized debt. That's how it's viewed upon. But with the Modernization Act, the state recognizes that it's an absolute necessity, especially in today's society. So it has to be monitored very specifically. So DOR and DLS has very specific monitoring requirements, and that is what's reflected in this policy that was introduced this year.
Okay. And if folks make a purchase or go out for quotes for over 500, is it department head that approves it or the town administrator? Who would be?
So typically from 500 to 1,000, it is it's up to the discretion of the department head. Anything for $1,000 and up is up to the town administrator's approval.
Okay. How many requests do you think that could be on average every day or over the course of a week?
To speak to how onerous it is, I don't believe it's that onerous because we typically have the town administrator signing off on any purchases over 1,000. So it's pretty much a common practice right now within the organization. This is just formalizing that practice.
If I could just, Madam Chair,
Yes,
just step
please.
into that. So that's been standard operating procedure for at least the last 6 years on 1,000. Anything over 1,000, I have to sign off on.
Okay. That's good to know. And then is this something where we gathered input and feedback from the department heads, and how is the new policy being received, and what, if any, feedback have we gotten?
I think it's pretty much goes in, it's just realigning what the past practice has been into a more formal policy. So I think the feedback is it's just business as usual.
All right, thank you.
Before Eric, I just wanted to, the last paragraph that you signed to just adds to the common denominator when we see with these policies. This is something that's almost like a working document. It's a guideline, and you pointed out it's an architecture for financial operations. So, and it will be adapted as time goes on and as we see and identify new challenges. So with that being said, Eric.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a pretty good read in its entirety. There were some things that I had questions on. I think it was page 5. Revenue policy 4 prevents Marshfield from building into the base of its revenue model an increase in the source of greater than 3%. Property tax revenue is exempted from this limitation because it's already limited to a lower level by Proposition 2.5. So what does it mean when it says the revenue policy 4 prevents Marshfield from building into the base of its revenue model?
So when we're looking at the budget, we don't want to build into what's called a structural deficiency by projecting that our revenues are going to be higher than 3%. Because normal growth, depending on the pace of inflation, is typically around 2.5% to 3%. Anything above 3% is considered a one-off. So you don't want to build your budget off of a revenue stream that's not going to be sustainable in the future.
All right. Number 6, page 6, I should say. Self-supporting policy 2 requires that rates and fees for the enterprise funds reflect the true and total cost of providing those services. This is intended to prevent these operations from forcing costs upon the general taxpayer who may not receive the benefit of these services. A corollary to this is that the rates and fees for these departments should not provide for the appropriation of money to the town's general fund, as do the so-forth costs on the taxpayer in excess of those needed to provide the service they are receiving. So I was trying to understand, a corollary to this is that the rates and fees of these departments should not provide the appropriation of money to the town's general fund. So what does that mean? Like, the money going into the enterprise accounts?
So really what it means, Eric, is that because the enterprises are self-sufficient, they're self-supporting, self-sufficient enterprise or
Yeah.
an operation per se, like your water, your sewer department, the rates that they're charging their ratepayers, that should successfully cover all of those expenses. So it is an independent operating entity. So, for example, your sewer rates, we had a discussion tonight about the sewer and the sewer expansion. Well, in essence, the rates that would be charged for that particular service that some people have, I think 4,500 people in town have connected sewer, whereas the rest are on septic, that rate should really cover all of the operational expenses for that particular enterprise, both direct and indirect. So that is why we have that indirect budget policy.
Okay. I got a better picture of that now. Some of these on number 16, the treasurer will meet with the investment manager at least annually to monitor the performance of the fund and the compliance with these guidelines. Who would be the investment manager?
So that would be Rockland Trust. So I meet with them and pretty much every October. So I have a meeting scheduled with Rockland Trust to review the investments that we have. And I also am in regular contact with our investment advisors, Hilltop Securities, as well.
Okay. In regards to the policy and the credit cards, do you keep a list of all the credit card holders?
I do.
There would, I guess, was there a limit on each card for 5,000?
There is a limit on each card.
So are you alerted if somebody exceeds that amount, or?
Well, they wouldn't have been approved, it would be declined. So once they reach that 5,000 limit, or if there's an emergency, so if there's a disaster where we have to increase the limits, that's when we would contact the card servicer to increase those limits based on those needs. But however, that spend threshold is 5,000, they can't exceed that.
Who generally carries the credit cards?
Typically, it's department heads
Just department heads?
and other supervisors that are authorized by the town administrator.
All right. It might be a minor thing, but in regards to separation of employment, employees shall surrender town credit card to the finance department on before the last day. I mean, if somebody gives you 2 weeks' notice, I mean, do you think you should grab from then? You ever ran into an issue with it before?
We have not run into that issue. However, you do bring up a good point. It really just depends on a couple of factors. It depends, you're talking about resignation.
Yeah, I mean, some that someone gave you a heads up on, but they're still holding the credit card. I mean,
the credit cards are monitored, and just keep in mind too that there are certain merchant codes where they're authorized to spend. So it's not like you can go out and buy something at online at, let's say, Etsy. It's not going to be an approved purchase. Really, the credit cards are limited to certain merchant types. So there's not too much abuse, I think, that someone could execute or exercise. And when we are aware that someone is separating from employment, maybe if it's not a resignation, it's a different type of separation of employment. The credit cards are typically, that person's credit card is shut off.
okay, and then, all right, I think that's good enough. And then paid receipts required for reimbursement. When paying a reimbursement, start to the employee will require a paid receipt along with a copy of the canceled check or a copy of the credit card, bank statement. The purchase must be made by the employee and the item shipped to the department address. An explanation of the reimbursement along with backup may also be required if you're requesting reimbursement for food and item items. So, I mean, should they go to the department head for approval of this?
So when we're talking about employee reimbursement, they would have to provide us with the original receipt, how it was paid, so it's their credit card statement or their bank statement, as well as any supporting documentation if it's a travel purpose, maybe conference agenda, a travel itinerary, things of that nature to justify the business expense. So there has to be a reason as to why that expense occurred. And then, obviously, the department head would have to approve it, but if it's out-of-state travel, the town administrator has to first pre-approve before those expenses can occur.
All right, so they do need approval from the department
They
head.
do.
before they go out and make an expenditure.
Correct.
And you're saying that the town administrator has to approve if it's like travel expense, did I hear that
Yes.
right? All right. I think. I think that's good. I think that was it, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Finally, Michael, this is a question for you. So once we accept this policy, who does the school, who in turn uses this policy in their,
Everybody, so we'll share it, we'll be up online, and that will replace the policy before, because we've made some substantial changes.
Okay.
The credit card policy probably,
Okay.
I consider that to be the biggest thing.
yeah, I agree. Okay. With no further questions, I'd like to move forward with a vote for the consolidated fiscal policy changes. Okay. You want to add something? I hear you breathing. Which is good. That's a good thing this late.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm still breathing. Go ahead.
Surprised no one's snoring.
No.
Yeah, so I love 99% of this, and just a few things that I'm on the fence about, I understand and totally get the spirit of. So again, I support 99% of it, but there are just a few things I'm wondering if we could just pause for now or table for now. And maybe just collect some more feedback from folks in case there's something maybe we're missing or not thinking of. But depending on the department, if the state recommendation is to only go out to bid if it's over 10,000 to get 3 qualifying quotes, I would be okay with that. I understand, looking for the cost savings for anything above 500, but I think it's important to be nimble and quick and adaptable when the circumstance calls for it. The credit card limit for 5,000 makes total sense, and I think that makes total sense for most departments, but maybe the emergency departments, they might need a higher limit when they need to act quickly in an emergency circumstance.
Okay.
And maybe we could make the piece about the card holder, we could make it contingent or tighten it up with respect to the department head and the supervisors. So if the department head is out on vacation or
Yeah.
off the clock, I would,
Authorize.
exactly,
Yeah.
I would be okay if the supervisor was able to use the card or, things of that nature.
Didn't that say it? I recall that.
It's
Being
the
part of
cards
this.
so the department head has the card. You have to be really careful. I don't know if I would, that's up to the board, but I'd be very leery about that. We want to keep control of who uses the cards.
I would keep it tight, like to the supervisor. Like you can't just have a day-to-day regular employee use it, but like if they're away on vacation and the supervisor needs to do something, I would be okay with that in that restricted sense. I don't know what you guys think.
The whole thing is, who's the card?
We've never had a problem. I'm trying to think of, as you're saying, we haven't had a problem. I mean, the credit cards are not used as part of the daily activity. Purchase orders is the way it was supposed. These are for very rare circumstances and travel. If someone's taking travel and they're going to a conference and stuff, that's 3 months ahead of time.
So I just want to remind everybody that this is in coordinated step with Department of Revenue and Division of Local Services. This is something that there's a lot of thought to really reflect and really mirror what their recommendations are. But because it is an unsecured line of credit, it's unauthorized debt, the monitoring is a little more onerous. So we have not had any issues. This is just really just to formalize the credit card policy because it has not been formalized yet.
Okay.
And just, if I could just, Madam
Yes,
Chair, just
please.
follow up from Mr. Darcy. So the thing about with the way the credit card works is, so town meeting approves, it's just, since we've had DPW here, so town meeting approves, a budget for them, $4.1 million. The credit cards above and beyond that, potentially they could charge. However, they've only been approved for 4.1 million. So the reason we have these policies is so that they can't overspend the 4.1 million, and they have to encumber the funds. So it's just like, you're gonna order $1,000 worth of water pipes. That comes out of water enterprise or something like that. Same thing with the credit card. So, we've had the credit cards, and now this is the next step, is to make sure that we have a strong enough policy that meets the Department of Revenue standards, DLS standards, the Inspector General when it comes to purchasing and going out to bid. So it's not like the treasurer collector willy-nilly making the policy.
Yep.
It's based on state policy and state law.
Okay.
So other than, Steve, if I could just finish up. So other than the credit card policy, was there anything else within this document that you saw need to continue to delve into? Or I can see your argument with going out to the individual departments or whoever to ask for more input, but I feel like the burden is on our treasurer to advise the town what the best course of action. That's how I feel about it.
Just keep in mind, too, these are all measures for risk mitigation as well, because this is such a, I come from a state where credit cards were used willy-nilly and there was little to no control, and it made a lot of news years ago. And I've seen departments or organizations get into trouble because they're not monitoring and mitigating their risk, and this is really that formalized process of monitoring, mitigating, and addressing any sort of malfeasance that could potentially happen.
Okay. If something was like $600 and it had to go out for 3 quotes, how long would it take, or how long would it have to hang out there? Would it be 30 days, 10 days?
And we're talking about quotes. That's just a matter of doing a web search and pulling down the information. It's not an onerous process like the formalized bid process where it would have to be out there for weeks at a time.
Okay. So like our office suppliers, would we have to go out every single time to pull a quote or a bid, or is that something where it's easy to have a regular standardized process like month to month?
You bring up a very good point, and that's kind of a multi-pronged, has a lot of tentacles in the explanation, but the long and the short of it is if we don't have a state bid list or an approved contractor, then, or approved vendor, then they would probably need to go out and get 3 quotes
Okay.
to make sure we're getting the best possible product.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
So sometimes expediency to get the job done has to be outweighed by the importance of meeting the policy guidelines.
Well, sometimes that also requires some planning as well. So it's a challenge in some cases because there's a knee-jerk reaction to order items or secure or exercise procurement, but it's really more an emergent as opposed to a planning basis.
Okay, this is part of.
I just wanted to
Thank
just,
you.
so that happens, and we've instructed, and we've had, my last 3 department head meetings have been really instructing our department heads in there. So I was instructing the department heads, and I seem to notice that information is not getting back to the people who really do it. So this time, we invited the department head with their key financial people so that they would understand. To you, and I think that was a great analogy, what you said, if we have to order parts, how long does it take to order something? We ask people, they simply type something up. Everything should be typed up with today's technology. You send it out, so say you need to buy, just the hour was late, just something very quickly, I don't know. You need to buy 3 bookcases, okay? And there's not a state approval list now. You can buy those off of a state approval list, probably. But let's just, for the sake of argument, you put down you want 3 5-foot bookcases, 5 shelves, you want them delivered, and they're going to be assembled. So you type that up, you send it to 3 companies that produce those types of product, and usually they'll email back to you in the same day a quote. You put that in the file, and you keep that with the permanent file. Who's ever the cheapest one, that's who you do business with.
Okay. If there was like an emergency situation, do you see a situation where police or fire would just need to go above the $5,000 credit card limit?
Not unless it's declared a state emergency by the governor.
Right.
That is DOR's recommendation and DLS's recommendation as well. Unless it's considered a national emergency or it's declared like a disaster.
Yeah.
That's when the limits would be, and that's the beauty of having the cards, because we can just make a phone call and have those limits increased on the fly.
Okay.
That's the advantage of it, really.
Cool. This has all been very helpful and informative, so thank you very much. Just the last question I had was, I know it's risk mitigation, it's the DOR recommendation, and what was the other agency?
DLS.
DLS.
Do you just foresee any situations where, this is their recommended practice, but there might be like a little bit of a log jam?
A log jam in what regard?
Purchases or operations or things of that nature?
We haven't experienced it yet.
Okay.
Because we do have those thresholds, and again, we're just realigning the formal policy to match what the practice is currently.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So are you comfortable with moving forward at this point? Eric, are you comfortable moving forward at this point?
I believe I am.
Okay. The board moves to approve Marshfield's, is that what you're, okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Marshfield's consolidated fiscal policy changes as presented by Treasurer Collector Sean Strobel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the consolidated fiscal policy as presented by Treasurer Collector Sean Strobel.
Okay, so that motion was for the changes, and this motion will be for the actual policy itself. The board now further moves to approve the consolidated fiscal policy as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the consolidated fiscal policy as amended.
Okay. Thank you, Sean, for your effort on that. But moving right along. Number 4 is our COSO Internal Control Framework, which is a committee of sponsoring organizations for those weary listeners where it's 10:10 at night.
Jesus.
Sorry, everybody. I'm going to give you the floor for this, Sean.
So, from reviewing the COSO policy, there really isn't any need to update any of the changes. The principles of the components of the internal control as far as the control environment, the risk assessment, the control activities, and information and communication and monitoring, we're really not, haven't changed any of those things. If anything, the internal systems that we have here in the town with the introduction of Munis is just enhancing a lot of those activities. But at the same time, from a reporting and a compliance perspective, we do have an independent audit that is performed on an annual basis, so that's part of the monitoring activity. We do have a single-level federal audit that is submitted as well for all of our grants and any federal funds that the town is in receipt of, as well as any other requirements for filing for any of the other funds that we receive, whether it be ARPA, federal ARPA funds, county ARPA funds, opioid settlement funds. I could go on and on and on about all of the activities and reporting that we have to engage in just to ensure that the monitoring and that we're ensuring that the funds that are granted to the town are being spent in the appropriate fashions.
Okay, just so the public is aware that there are 5 interrelated components to this framework, and they are the control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and monitoring. Massachusetts Office of the Inspector General has developed this code, et cetera. There is a lot to this, but
This is a very robust policy.
it is a very robust policy. Michael, will you just share with the board how much of this particular policy affects your weekly, monthly, yearly job?
This particular policy, not nearly as much, well,
The other one.
it doesn't affect me. The other one affects me more because I have to sign off on the
Yep.
expenditures.
Yep.
This is something that our financial advisors, our banks, whenever we go out to market, they look at this policy, as well as our other fiscal policy, but this has a bigger bearing on it. And this, we're not really making any changes in this particular one, a couple of small minor changes that were made, but nothing like, we had to add the credit card policy to our other one.
And can you just explain bond rating and how important this is to the town?
Yeah, so it's important whenever we go out to market, they look at these types of financial policies, if you have really good financial policies, you have good credit, you get great bond ratings. And that's why, and I think Mr. Darcy was on the board at the time, when we did the, in 2019, when we went to market to borrow the money to build the police station, the DPW, the senior center addition, and seawalls, because we had the great financial policies, because our financial house was in order, we were able to get the best rates. In fact, people were envious, we first went out to bid to get the projects going. We got an interest rate of 2.1, and the second time we went out to bid, we got 1.9, which means we did $49.9 million at 2 cents on the dollar. And it was because of having a financial house in order, and the banks, our financial investors, the rating bureaus, all were very impressed with the type of accounting and the financial policies that we have.
And the tax rate went down.
That is correct.
That's right.
That is correct, yes.
And this is part of the audit process, and this is part of all the other things that come into play
That
in
is correct.
municipal finance.
Is it true they still talk
So
about
much
that
fun.
at the MMA conferences?
Yes, they do.
They do.
We were,
Something
and
else.
just to
Share with Eric, yeah.
just to piggyback, Eric, on what Steve's saying is, so when we gone out, normally, we go out, sometimes we had to borrow a small amount of money to get the project started, get them designed and things like that. So when we were talking with the banks and the overall, and talking to our financial investors at the time, they said, well, maybe you should think about, the market's pretty good right now. And thank God, because 30 days later, we would have never done any of the stuff we were able to do. So we went out right away, borrowed 50%, got such a great interest rate. And the forecasters were saying, well, you can go out and borrow the remainder of the money. And the one difference is, unlike the private sector, even with all of the amendments that have been made to municipal finance, we have to be very worried about arbitrage. And what happens is when you borrow money at like 2%, you can't put it in a bank account or an investment vehicle that's going to give you greater than 2%. And we ran into that problem a little with the DPW project because that was the last actual building we built. We had to make some modifications with the bank and how the remainder of the money for that particular account was, because we couldn't be getting more interest than the interest was charged to borrow the money. So, but we were very fortunate, really about 6. So we went out to, that was like in December, and I remember Steve was on the board. I sent a thing out, or he was running for the board. I sent a letter out to the select board. I wanted to have put together a COVID study committee with the department heads, and selectmen thought there was something wrong with me, and they thought about it, and I told us it's a really serious issue. I sent them all these stories that were percolating that I was tracking, all while we were trying to expand and build, and then we finally, they agreed to it, and then, thank God, we went out to the market again at the beginning of February, just before things got bad, and we get another fantastic interest rate, so a lot of people were very envious of us.
Yes, that was one of the things.
Right.
I learned what arbitrage meant.
Mhm.
Coming from the private sector, it wasn't in my,
Yeah.
so. All right, anything else? Anybody? We're good? All right. So let's move forward. So this is, again, one motion for the same COSO internal control framework. So this is the first. The board moves to approve the COSO internal control framework changes as presented by Treasurer Collector Sean Strobel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve.
Thank you. And now, this is for the actual as amended. The board now further moves to approve the COSO internal control framework as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve as amended, and we'll get the clean policies. They'll be up on the website and out to the folks that need them.
Okay, appreciate that. So now, are you guys okay to just keep plowing through this? Mm-hmm. You need to get up and stretch, okay.
I was just curious, could we do Ned at 12 and then take a 5-minute break so the young man from WATD can interview Michael and get home to his wife and 3 kids?
If only I had something so wonderful to go home to.
Not even a dog, cat?
They don't like me.
Okay, well, let's have Ned come up.
I hope you're a night owl, Sean.
Sean, drive safe. It's
Thank
been
you,
a long
Sean.
day for you.
But text us when you get home.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, 10:20. Okay.
Hey, Ned.
Good evening. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for noticing me in the audience tonight.
Of course, always.
Sorry,
I just look for the scally cap.
There you go. So, Ned Bangs, and I'm on the Marshfield Cultural Council, and so we had a great 5-week series. In January, we'll start planning for the 2025 series at Harbor Park. The Boys and Girls Club and the town green people seem to like the differences in those locations,
Yeah.
and each one has its own special good things about it. You know, the Boys and Girls Club is a great place to be when it's raining out because we're dry, which was all good. So we had another donation of funds for the Marshfield Cultural Council, and you'll go into starting to look for performers starting in January, and Colby Laurier, who was the Marsh Vegas coordinator, is seems to be gearing up for Marsh Vegas Part 2, and we'll have a better idea after the first of the year. He's back at school right now, St. Lawrence University, and we'll be in contact probably in December to see how he's still feeling and if he's up for another event like that, which was well received by the town. And we had, as you call them, the lemonade wars. There's 7 different lemonade stands that the kids in neighborhoods made, and they people that were drinking them were voting who was the best lemonade maker. And the kids that were on stage had a great time. They were all Marshfield students and or recent graduates, and so it was a nice event for everyone to attend. So we just have another donation to put into the account.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. Your work is, every week, it's every week we're here, there's something else. You're here in the back of the room, so I appreciate, and I especially appreciate you staying this late, so thank you for that. Anything you'd like to add?
Every board you're on, you do a great job, so please apply to more boards.
It was great to learn a little bit more about other things that were going on that aren't necessarily trails or cultural council or
Yeah.
so it's everyone can
So you
learn.
learned something tonight, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, anything you'd like to add?
No, just keep up all the good work you're doing. The town's appreciative of it.
Thank you.
All right, let's move forward. The board moves to accept a donation on behalf of the Marshfield Cultural Council through Ned Bangs, the Town of Marshfield Summer Concert Coordinator, in the amount of $142. The donation should be placed in the Marshfield Cultural Council donation and gift account. The donation will be used to support the Marshfield Cultural Council Summer Concert and Entertainment Series. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right.
Unanimous vote to accept $142 on behalf of the Cultural Council through Ned.
Thank you, Ned.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Appreciate everything
All
you
right.
do.
Are you a night owl, Ed?
Sorry?
Ned, are you a night owl?
He
A
is
night
now.
owl?
Yeah.
I am tonight. I am tonight. Glad to be it.
You don't have a ham sandwich on you, do you? I'm so hungry.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay.
Do you want to do like a super quick recess?
To what, grab a piece of chocolate or something?
Poor guy's been here for 4 hours.
Look, I'm
Yes,
getting paid
that's
to be
fine.
Here. It's no skin off my back.
Are you paid
Do you
hourly?
wanna
Yes.
Have you hit overtime yet?
That's a good question. I don't think I get overtime.
Oh, it's
Do you
Oh,
wanna
I don't
take
think
a
Ed, I don't think
recess
Ed
so
Perry
we can
pays over.
Wants to speak?
I don't think he knows the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to take a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
Motion made and duly second. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to come out of our 5-minute recess and continue with our business.
Okay. Here we go. This is a discussion and vote on conditional offer of employment for the position of full-time permanent police officer for William White and Brian Bowers through the police department. Okay. So this is a request from our police chief, Phil Tavares, respectfully requesting this full-time permanent police officer for William White and Brian Bowers. Currently, these two people serve as permanent intermittent officers and are the only eligible candidates to be offered a conditional offer of employment to full-time status. These are not new positions or extra positions. They are positions already within the budget and are being filled due to attrition. And that's about it. That was a message sent via email on September 18th, 2024. Okay. We have William White's request, lifelong resident, past 20 years, aspired to become a full-time officer for the Marshfield Police Department. Throughout those 20 years, taken on numerous civil service exams and have been offered full-time positions with other departments in which declining, hoping I would someday get the opportunity to become a full-time officer for your department. For the past 3.5 years, I've had the honor of holding the position of permanent intermittent officer, where I have witnessed the professionalism and integrity from every member of the Marshfield Police Department. I honestly believe that this job is what I was meant to do and to work for the town that I grew up loving and will continue to love. I don't need to continue reading this, but that right there sums up. Professional goals align with Marshfield Police Department's mission and values. Teamwork, critical thinking, decision-making abilities will support and drive continued success. And he's hoping for our support in this. That's that one. And his resume is attached for your reference. And we also have a letter from Brian Bowers, and I'm going to and that's dated September 18th. Thank you for the opportunity to become a full-time police officer with Marshfield Police Department, self-disciplined, motivated, and hardworking. I'm just ad-libbing this. Graduate of the University of Massachusetts, Lowell, with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Member of the Randolph Police Academy, 17th ROC, and graduated in May 2023. Raised in the town of Marshfield and went to Marshfield Public Schools. Experience. Volunteered for organizations in town. I have over 7 years of experience working in public safety and over 1 year working as a post-certified police officer. While working for the Wentworth Institute of Technology Police Department, I have been certified in mountain bike patrol and become a certified sexual assault investigator. It is also important to note that I've been working as a permanent intermittent police officer for the town of Marshfield since July 2023. I've also had other training that would pertain to working in the community of Marshfield, such as active shooter and suicide prevention, mental health. I look forward to this opportunity. And his resume is also attached. And I believe that Brian Bowers is already through the academy. Michael, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, he's an officer now.
Okay, all right. Anything you'd like to add?
They're at the top of the civil service list based on a lot of different criteria, so that's why they're being picked, because they're at the top of the list. And I did not know that you could become certified in mountain bike patrol. Yeah.
We might need that. We do need that. A lot of trails. Ned keeps going.
That's it, we're gonna need to have officers out there on those trails. Hundreds of miles of trails, I might
And
add.
he can get over the bridges.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
Yep. Any questions, Eric? Comments?
I don't know, it's, these guys, Mr. White and Mr. Bowers, have a pretty good background on this, according to their resumes, and I think they'll complement the Marshfield Police Department, very well. I do want to say that Mr. White, the first thing that caught my eye in his, thing is integrity and honesty. And, I think everybody that will live up to that should always put that on their resume. It's very important. And the other thing is, in regards to Mr. White, is I was thinking, he says he's a saute cook. I was like, geez, we ever have a storm? You ever?
Skimmed over that? Did I?
It was, we have a big storm where they're gonna be sheltered in the police station for a couple of days. I got someone on hand, I can maybe put a meal together for them, so. But no, I wish them well, and like I said, they seem, their career in other fields is gonna, career in education in other areas, it will be a benefit to Marshfield, no doubt.
Okay, thank you. As a board, we're excited to have these positions open up and have these gentlemen able to fill this position. So I'm going to make a motion. The board moves to approve conditional offers of employment for the position of full-time permanent police officers for William White and Brian Bowers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded, roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve conditional offers of employment for the position of full-time permanent officers for William White and Brian Bowers.
Congratulations, folks, if you're listening. Okay, so the next is item number 6. Discussion and vote on appointment of the 250th Celebration Committee, and this is a follow-up on the previous meeting that we had in regards to the Revolutionary War and getting some things in order for this. So you'll see there's a suggested celebration committee. I think that's a good start to getting this planning underway. And we are suggesting that this committee be comprised of the Select Board Chair, Marshfield Historical Commission Chair, Marshfield Historic Society Chair, Daniel Webster Preservation Trust Chair, Winslow House Association, Inc. Chair, Marshfield Public Schools Superintendent or its designee, Boys and Girls Club of Marshfield Executive Director, Town Administrator ex officio member, Marshfield Public School Committee member. Any comments, Steve?
Who's the select board chair?
Currently, that would be Lynn Fiddler.
I'm good.
You're getting wise. Any questions or comments?
Just like going forward when we do these committees, can we put names on? Do we have names already in regards to who's the chair of the Historical Commission?
Well, I think partially is this, things do change.
Things
So-
change, that's why it's not by name, so it's more the position.
All right,
so
so
like
whoever's,
when-
whoever's, all right, I see, yeah,
So
'cause,
do you see what,
I mean, well, you're starting it up right now, right?
yeah, we'll start it. We can,
I mean, just so I would say whoever, at least we can acknowledge it.
We
in the
can
meeting and all that,
identify it,
yeah.
yes.
At least we know who it's gonna be.
yes.
Just, I'm not poo-pooing it, but I understand, like, between the select board chair, historical, Marshall Historical Commission, Society, Historic Society, and Danny Webster, and the Winslow House and all that, but like, what is gonna be the role for the public schools superintendent or the designee in this?
Okay, Michael, yeah, my impression was that each of these would bring something new to the table. And each of these individuals will also be able to work from their own pool
That's
to
correct.
help in their process, in their
So,
goals.
yeah, we would like, so, Madam Chair, if I may,
Yeah,
so we
please.
would like, so the reason the school superintendent and the school committee are involved, because we want to get the kids involved to really, we're about 2 years, a little less than 2 years out now. We want to start to get them thinking about the 250th anniversary. And, you know, we want, you know, where, I think when we had Tom Whalen had expressed an interest in getting the schools and the young kids really involved with, you know, art contests, with writing contests, things like that, floats and parades, you know, band and with patriotic songs, things like that. So, you know, the committee's going to be charged with putting together like all of these events. When I say, oh, we're not talking about hundreds of events, but, you know, there is some time to plan for the committee to get together, for them to go back to their constituency. The historic organizations will be able to, I think, share, you know, maybe we have historic artifacts and stuff like that that, you know, date back. I mean, Marshfield's rich in history. Only Marshfield and Boston were sympathizers to the Crown, and the Redcoats were here. They marched up and down where Town Hall is now on the training green. So that rich history we want to be able to showcase, and that was Tom Whelan's idea. You know, he's done a lot of work. He's the chair of the Honor Roll Committee for the Revolutionary War, and he just thought we would be missing out if we didn't have a committee that would plan events, because it would be important. The culmination in 2026, along with the unveiling of the Honor Roll for the Revolutionary War that will be right out here. You know, people envision maybe it is a parade, maybe it's concerts, maybe it's writings and essays and things like that. So, be up to the committee to
I mean, I
come back
know
with
that
some
if I
great
was on a
ideas.
committee like this, I would want both of you helping. You know what I'm saying?
I get
We
you.
need everybody.
No, I get that.
together.
I just want to know what their role was, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, in regards to schools, and I kind of figured it would be with the kids and all that, but, you know, it's, I just want to reaffirm that. And I guess just to ask the Boys and Girls Club, same thing, the kids and all that, all right?
Okay. We all set? The board moves to approve the appointment of a 250th anniversary celebration committee for the Revolutionary War with the following membership. Select Board Chair, Marshfield Historical Commission Chair, Marshfield Historical Society Chair, Daniel Webster Trust Chair, Winslow House Association Chair, Marshfield Public Schools Superintendent or Designee, Boys and Girls Club of Marshfield Executive Director, Marshfield Public Schools Committee Member, Town Administrator ex officio member. The committee will be charged with putting together a year-long celebration to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. The 250th anniversary of the American Revolution is July 4th, 2026. The committee shall involve all segments of the town, including our community leaders, children, schools, seniors, veterans, police, fire, local businesses, and the Chamber of Commerce. So before we ask to second that, so if any of these, or we add to it, does that require another vote?
No, this is what they're gonna, the
The
committees are gonna work with all of
Okay.
these participants, yep.
All right. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right.
Unanimous vote to approve the committee.
Okay, and number 7, we tabled to October 7th, and number 8. Number 8 is a discussion and vote on application for temporary entertainment license, Goodwill Hunters. And this is Kimaruka for Goodwill Hunters, and this is the Rexham Beach parking lot is the location, it's the Duck Derby, everybody loves, it's October 6th, 12 PM to 2 PM. Recorded music, expected 150 people. It's entirely outside. If outdoor, blah, blah, blah. This will be the 9th year of this event, never had any issue. It is a family-friendly event with free games for kids. No tent. The beach snack bar, I understand, will be open. No issues from fire. And no, police have no issues, and the harbor master will be on scene. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Oh.
Eric, any questions or comments?
Just to get an understanding, what actually is what is it, an event?
It's the
Annual
Little
Derby?
Duckies.
What is it?
The Little Duckies. Go ahead.
So if I
I
may,
love this.
so it's the little yellow plastic ducks, and the harbor master's involved. They pour them in the water, and it's a race. There's a number that coincides to your name. You make a donation, you get the duck, and you win prizes depending first, second, and third, and it all goes to the charity.
So when you say,
Collect all the ducks out of the river, just so you know.
so, all right, so you put them in the river, and then what, all right, how do you win, I guess, is,
If your duck comes in first, so
There's a
like they're
tie.
going to be assigned. So say there's like 1,000 ducks that go in the water. So whatever your number is, you'll get assigned a number. You can buy more than one duck.
yeah, I'm
You
just,
could have many more ducks in a row.
oh, no, I'm getting that.
Yeah.
So is there a winner in this whole process?
I
Or is-
believe there is. Yeah, whoever duck comes in first.
First, to like, how's it, when you pour them in the water, I mean, when you say comes in first, what do you mean by?
It's so the current just takes them, and
Everybody?
they just bob around until they get to a certain point.
And then, so it's an area marked, whoever's that gets it?
That's
All
correct.
right, I get what you're saying.
That's why the
Okay.
harbor
So
master's there.
it's-
He's in charge with dumping them and making sure
In the
that they're
South
channeled
River.
in the right.
Yeah, no,
You
Yeah.
are examining.
okay. No, I wasn't too sure what the whole event was,
Yeah.
and then we were saying, well, somebody wins, I'm like, all right, well, if you're dumping them in the river, what's the winning end of it? But, all right, so there's a marked area with, whoever's
Yes.
duck gets to that point.
There's probably a duck finish line.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
been a while since
Okay,
I've
you
been
guys,
to
we're
it.
getting. Oh,
It's not
all right.
duck season, so there's no hunting ducks.
okay. All set?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Think
good.
so. So you're all ducky?
I'm all ducked out.
The board moves to approve an outdoor temporary one-day entertainment license for Kim Aruka of Marshfield for Goodwill Hunters, 9th Annual Duck Derby at the Wrexham Beach parking lot on October 6, 2024, from 12 noon to 2 p.m. The entertainment will consist of recorded music. The event is family-friendly with free games for kids. Our harbor master will be on hand to assist in this event, pending sign-off from the MPD, beaches, and MFD. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right,
Unanimous vote to approve the 9th Annual Duck Derby.
Okay. Number 9 is the donation. Okay, discussion vote on request for permission to donate 50 T-shirts to the Boys and Girls Club of Marshfield through the treasurer collector. Michael, will you share on this?
Yes, so we did a diversity, inclusion, and equity event with the Boys and Girls Club back in 2021. And we had these T-shirts that were funded through CARES Act money. There were words, I think you may have seen them, they're black T-shirts, it's Marshfield. And the wording, actually, I need to give credit to Dr. Smith, which is Chief Tavares' wife, come up with the wording. Each word, Marshfield, I forget what the word stood for, but these have been sitting in a closet. We tried to sell them for a number of years. We whittled it down now to 50, and the treasurer is cleaning out the closet, and they'd like the board to say that we'll give them, since the Boys and Girls Club was our partner, we'll give them the 50 T-shirts, and maybe they can sell them to people.
Okay. Fine with that, Mike. Steve, do you have any questions?
No.
Eric, you have any questions?
no, I'm good.
Okay. The board moves to donate approximately 50 T-shirts to the Boys and Girls Club, who continue to promote the mission of diversity, inclusion, and equity on a daily basis through their programming that they offer to the Marshfield community. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to donate approximately 50 T-shirts to the Boys and Girls Club.
Number 10, discussion and vote on application for temporary liquor license, North River Arts Society. This is Maureen Smith, North River Arts. This is for an event on Saturday, October 5th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Gar Hall. And this is the members' show opening reception, wine and malt beverages only. Liquor liability is attached, tip certificates attached, narrative indoors. Certificates. Sue Casey as tips, Mary Jo Wiles, Allison Ann Arnone. Okay, oops, sorry. And Great American Insurance Group Limited with Marshfield as, just a second. Sorry. Okay. Police have no issues. I guess that's it. Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Board moves to approve a temporary indoor wine and malt beverage license, liquor license for Maureen Smith of North River Arts Society, 157 Old Main Street at the Gar Hall, for their opening reception on Saturday, October 5th, 2024, from 6 to 8 p.m., pending sign-off from MPD. Copy of their liquor liability insurance naming the town of Marshfield as additionally insured, and copy of the tip certification. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Perfect. Madam Chair,
Yes.
just if I may.
Yes.
I was negligatory, so I need to disclose, if I could go back to item 9, I need to disclose that I am a member of the Board of Directors of the Boys and Girls Club and serve on the EGC, Executive Governance Committee. That also applies the same disclosure to number 11, which you're going to take up now, regarding the Boys and Girls Club Turkey Trot.
Can I
Okay.
change my vote knowing that?
No, you can do whatever. Kidding, you cannot. Okay. So number 11 is discussion and vote on request to hold the 2024 Marsh Vegas Thanksgiving Turkey Trot Boys and Girls Club of Marshfield. Thursday, November 28th, we all know what day that is. It's a 4-mile walk or run. Time starts at 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. for registration. The walk or run begins at 7:30. We'll work with the MPD for a safe and enjoyable community event. And we have a route in our binder, same route as it has been in the past. Police have no issues. If someone could reach out to me about police details prior, that would be great, and that's Jason Lucetti, MPD. No issues from fire. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments, Steve?
No, thank you.
Any questions or comments, Eric?
No.
I'd like to make a motion that the board moves to approve the request of the Boys and Girls Club to host their 9th annual charity 4-mile run walk, Marsh Vegas Thanksgiving Turkey Trot on November 28th, 2024 at the South River School, with registration beginning at 6:30 a.m. and the run walk stepping off at 7:30 a.m. The club will work with MPD to ensure a safe event. pending sign-off from the MPD, MFD, and the Marshfield schools. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right,
Unanimous vote to approve the 9th annual turkey trot.
Okay, moving to number 13. Discussion and vote on request for permission to accept a donation through the animal control. This is a donation of $100 in the cash amount made by Jocelyn Staffier on September 6th. Funds deposited into department's donation account and will go directly towards the care of the animals housed at the Marshfield Animal Shelter, cared for by Marshfield Animal Control officers. Any questions or comments, Steve?
Michael, after doing so many of these, I mean, do you think it would be worthwhile to change our bylaws at town meeting or our town charter to raise the threshold? I mean, because we're never going to vote to turn down a donation, so do you think it'd be worth it to raise the monetary threshold?
I think it's kind of nice people get the recognition, they get a thank you letter.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I agree with Michael, yeah. I mean, I get it, but it isn't, maybe it's late too. Feeling late. Anything you'd like to add?
no, I'm good on that,
Okay.
thank you.
The board moves to accept a donation on behalf of Alexander Forbes, Marshfield Animal Shelter, in the amount of $100 to be used to care for the animals housed in the shelter. The funds were donated by Jocelyn Staffier on September 6, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right,
Unanimous vote to approve the $100 to
Thank
accept.
you. Number 14 is another donation with the Council of Aging, and that is it's for $50 from Marbeth Santucci to be deposited in the COA gift account. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay, any questions or comments?
I do not.
I think you were supposed to be Mary Beth.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. The board moves to accept a donation on behalf of the Council on Aging in the amount of $50 from Mary Beth Santucci to be deposited in the COA gift account. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right,
Unanimous vote to approve the donation from Marbeth Santucci.
Okay. This is number 15, is a discussion vote on request for permission to waive fees, the building department, on behalf of the Marshfield Housing Authority. Okay. This is a request on behalf of Mr. John Weber, the electrician, to waive the permit fees relative to the wiring of the septic system at Gracie Ryder Housing. And this is also, was brought to my attention that Mr. Pesovich, who is a member of the Housing Authority, requested that we table this. Bringing it to your attention. It is in regard to a building permit that was requested for work performed at the Gracie Ryder. And the permit itself had a cost of work of $15,000, and the fee is $225. And I don't know why we would not continue in this and table it. But I should have been clearer. Okay. Any questions or comments?
No.
Steve? Any questions or comments, Eric?
yeah, it's my understanding, if Joe hasn't highlighted it in your letter there, that I guess this whole septic system is, I believe, being funded by the state, so all this money has already been allocated by the state. And if I'm correct, I believe Joe is saying, you know, it's our tax dollars, so, I mean, why not collect on it if the state's already funding everything? So if you're saying it's $225, It's $225 coming to the town from the state.
Okay, well, we don't know that, so if they'd like to decline this
Well, I'm
waiver,
saying-
they can do so.
What I'm saying is if you wanted to table it and wait to get more information,
I'm not inclined to table
All right.
this. Okay. Okay. The board moves to waive the permit fee on behalf of the Marshfield Housing Authority for John Weber Electrical for the Greasy Rider Housing Complex relative to the wiring of their septic system. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
nay.
2-1 vote, one in the negative, motion carries.
Okay, number 16. Discussion and vote on request for permission to waive fees, zoning board of appeals on behalf of the Harbor Master Damon's Point project. Okay, this is case 2461, Town of Marshfield Harbor Master, and I understand it was already in front of the ZBA, and it was an affirmative vote, and this is a request for a waiver of that. Any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Any questions or comments? Eric?
No.
Okay. So the board moves to waive the ZBA fees for the Harbor Masters project at Damon's Point. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to waive the ZBA fees on the Harbor Master project.
Okay, finally, we are at the end of our hearing, unless I say it really slow. I won't do that. The board moves to approve the meeting minutes for September 9th, 2024, and September 13th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the Select Board minutes for September 9th, 2024, September 13th, 2024.
Okay, thank you. So time is now 11 o'clock PM, and it is still the 23rd of September. I appreciate everybody for sticking with us tonight, and seeing no further items on the Select Board agenda, the board moves to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to adjourn the Select Board meeting.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.